What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new series. I've done a scenario with a similar concept to this one before, but with Raditz as Goku's twin. Essentially so Goku and Raditz would grow up on Earth together. This time we'll change it a bit. Kakarot and Raditz are born separately, although Kakarot has a twin this time. A sibling separate from Raditz. How would this change the story? Let's begin what if Goku had a twin. Kakarot is born with a fraternal twin, not identical. Of course that means we basically have to make a new character. So why not bring back an old one? We're bringing back Ruta. In case you don't know, she's been in a few scenarios before. A hypothetical third child of Bardock and Guine. A sister for Goku. I was surprised you guys liked her as much as you did, and since I rarely get to have her in a scenario, let's put her in this one. Kakarot and Ruta are born very weak, and when Bardock is suspicious of Frieza, he sends both of them to Earth. He actually had a wish before that his kids would grow and thrive. The wish and its effects are really vague because all Bardock wished for is that they'd grow up and thrive. Some interpret this as them being protected from death, up until they're adults like Goku and Raditz, and especially with Goku's death-defying stunts, that kind of makes sense. But just as easily, it could be an overall thing. Like, even if they have hardships or die along the way, it doesn't matter because long-term they'll be fine. That's another way to interpret it. Or it could just simply be protect them from Planet Vegeta's fate, making sure Frieza doesn't get to them. We're gonna go with that second option here. And this is relevant because, of course, this wish would apply to Ruta too, just as it would with Goku and Raditz. So keep that in mind as we go forward. I'm not saying that's the factual way the wish worked, I'm just saying that's how we'll interpret it for this specific scenario. Ruta and Kakarot land on Earth, with Gohan eventually finding them. Gohan also has Butterfingers and ends up dropping Kakarot, thankfully not Ruta. I think this would create a really interesting dynamic because Kakarot would lose his memories and Ruta would keep hers. So by all means, Goku is Goku here. Although Ruta remembers a lot, and also remembers the fact that his name is Kakarot. But Gohan still uses the name Goku, and Goku likes the name. He thinks Ruta should get an Earth name too, but she's gonna keep hers. Goku also ends up getting a new outfit, no longer wearing his Saiyan armor, but Ruta keeps hers on. Goku pretty quickly views himself as an Earthling, while Ruta still goes with the idea she's a Saiyan. Especially with Kakarot losing his memories, part of her wants to make sure she keeps those memories, and doesn't overwrite her Saiyan past. The two grow up knowing they're aliens. This doesn't really change much for Goku. Personality-wise, he's still Goku. He acts the exact same, he just knows more of his past. And of course he has a sister too. Plus, Ruta remembers the fact that they have another brother, but they have no clue of where he is, and Goku hopes that he comes to visit them someday. Ruta's not really too sure if that's a great idea, but she's sure Raditz will show up eventually. Although, she wonders if her parents survived, assuming they'll come to find both of them. It seemed like this was only temporary. She doesn't think they'll be stuck here for too long. This is like a temporary home for them. But as the days pass, she comes to realize they're probably not coming to get them. Assuming something happened with Planet Vegeta. Goku's not too bothered by it though. Ruta being around does jog his memories, and pretty much like what happened in the Granola arc, Goku gets memories of Bardock and Guine back. Still, it doesn't really change who he is, he just remembers things this time. That's a big difference here with having Ruta around. Goku's definitely more good-hearted. Ruta is Saiyan-like, but not necessarily evil, more so just rowdy and uncontrolled. Bardock and Guine thankfully are an influence on her, plus Gohan. So, I guess you could say she is a good person, but just needs to be guided down a better path. One night, Goku looks up at the moon, and ends up going Great Ape. He actually forgot about the fact that he could do this, but Ruta eventually does remember it. This is one thing that slipped Goku's mind, and honestly, hers too. It's like she instinctively knows it, but Goku doesn't. Thankfully, she doesn't transform, and she's able to save Gohan from being killed by Goku. Although Goku is way too strong for her to do anything against. But luckily, he's pretty mindless right now, so the two of them can outsmart Goku. And with help from Gohan, the two of them are able to get to his tail and cut it off, making Goku de-transform. Thanks to her having her memories, Grandpa Gohan of course doesn't die here. He continues teaching the two of them more about martial arts. The two grow at a really rapid pace. By Saiyan standards they are weak, but as Earthlings they're really strong. The two are equal right now. And one day they meet someone new. Bulma stumbles across them trying to get the Dragon Balls. Of course, that Dragon Ball is in Gohan's possession. At first she's pretty confused because Gohan says he found these two in the woods, and they're also aliens. She thought he was their literal grandpa. But hearing these two are aliens kind of freaks her out because that proves aliens exist. Well, it's not too strange, she's trying to summon a magical dragon, so hey, it's not really too absurd. The two join Bulma on her adventure, gathering the Dragon Balls. And with the two being on equal footing, and stronger than Goku normally was, this makes this journey a lot easier for them. The two are stronger than Goku normally was because, first of all, they could train with each other, and second of all, they've had Gohan for guidance, living much better lives and not having to fend for themselves like Goku did, although they have the skills to do that if needed. Weirdly enough, Goku's tail has even regrown, but he knows to avoid the moon now. He wants to keep his tail this time. He just woke up randomly and his tail was gone. He didn't even realize what happened. It was pretty painful though, but Ruta explained to him what happened and now he knows to avoid the full moon. This is the most interesting part of the whole journey for Bulma. There's a pair of twin aliens that landed here on Earth, and oddly enough they're very human-like, at least in how they look, but their natures are completely different. Goku's very good-hearted and naive, while Ruta's kinda easygoing but also a little bit more serious than her brother. And despite them being twins, She kind of takes on more of a guidance role, almost as if she's the older sister. It's a weird dynamic she notices. But it makes sense when she figures out Goku lost his memories, and Ruta's the only connection to their home. They meet the same people along the way too. You know, Oolong, Yamcha, Roshi, Ox King, Chi-Chi, the usual. Eventually they do encounter the Pilaf gang, but it's not an issue for the two of them. And Ruta prevents Goku from transforming. The Pilaf gang is defeated, but not killed. They'll be back later. And along this journey they ended up meeting Roshi, eventually training underneath him, with the two of them eventually meeting Krillin as well. The three grow together as martial artists, and eventually the 21st World Tournament rolls around. Goku and Krillin are glad to have their new gis on, but Ruta still wants to wear her Saiyan armor. Although, for this tournament she can't wear armor, but she still doesn't put the orange gi on. She just simply takes her armor plates off. She really wants to keep that connection to home, especially because the false hope that her parents will eventually show up. It's weird. She doesn't realize that Saiyans aren't normally like this, but she actually feels a connection to her family, especially with Goku around. And she hopes Bardock and Gine will show up. She has those memories of them, even if they're few and far between. Those two send them to Earth for a reason, and wanted them to survive. Survive what? She's really curious about that, and that's why she identifies so strongly with her Saiyan side. Goku doesn't feel the same way, but does respect it and gets why she feels that, even if he can't fully understand. But Ruta has started to embrace Earth more, mainly thanks to Goku and Gohan. In the 21st World Tournament, Roshi of course enters but can't fight both of them. Goku vs Ruta is the semi-final match, and it's really abundant in this fight that the two of them are dead even in power. Even in skill too, Goku is more of a prodigy, while Ruta actually is smarter. Goku adapts quicker, but she's more tactical. But otherwise they fight pretty much the same. They're both Saiyans, they're twins. They both grew up under Gohan and train under Roshi as well. By all means, they have equal levels of skill and power. The fight ends with a double knockout, pretty much like Goku's fight with Ten in the 22nd World Tournament. Ruta is declared the victor because Goku hits the ground first, but only by like a second sooner. It's a really close call too. And even though this fight proves that they're dead even, Goku makes a promise to his sister. He will grow stronger, strong enough where this won't be an even fight anymore. And she doesn't consider this a huge victory for her, especially because she basically won on a technicality. Goku could have won just as easily. The two of them are going to push each other further. The final match is Roshi versus Ruta. Actually, not Roshi, Jackie Chun. Sorry for the confusion, I thought Roshi was here, but no, it's Jackie Chun. Completely different guy. She's a bit of a problem for Jackie Chun. And while it's not Roshi she's fighting, Roshi was concerned before, just like he was about Goku, in terms of the fact that both of them are strong. Whoever he had to fight at the end, he wants to beat them so they can learn a lesson. It's not to shatter their pride or anything. It just wouldn't be wise if he let them win their first tournament so easily. Ruta knows to avoid the moon and she doesn't go Great Ape, which also makes the fight tougher for her because she knowingly has to try and avoid it. Because she's scared of what would happen if she transforms. She's never transformed. But even if her trying to avoid the moon wasn't a factor, she definitely would still lose here. It ends with a beam clash and Roshi overpowers her Kamehameha, although he's pretty impressed. That definitely wasn't an easy battle, and it could have just as easily been Goku he was fighting against, or even Krillin. Although he is the weaker of the three, but still, that could have been a possibility. Either way, the outcome would have been the same, but the fact that it was so close impresses him. Gohan's watching on in the crowd too, proud to see how these two have grown. He would have entered himself, but he's kind of past that point he feels. He just wants to nurture the next generation, as does Roshi. When the Red Ribbon arc rolls around, well, the Red Ribbon army is defeated really easily. Imagine 2 Gokus here instead of 1. And not just 2 Gokus, 2 stronger Gokus, because that's essentially what's happening here. And especially with Ruta indulging more on her Saiyan side, the destruction of the army is a little bit more insane. It's not like she's being sadistic here, but she's definitely having fun just blowing everything up. Although this leaves Krillin in a weird spot, especially after the tournament. He really wants to catch up to the both of them because so far he's been left behind. He's still seen some great growth as a warrior, but he really wants to catch up to them. He knows they're both aliens too, so he kind of chalks it up to that because that definitely is part of the reason, but also, these two are his good friends. He's their rival. Regardless, he'll surpass them. And either way, over time he'll grow closer with them. Goku's definitely more of a best friend to him. And while he's friends with Ruta, it's not as close as it is with Goku, because weirdly enough, he gets nervous around her, and he's not exactly sure why. But she's pretty friendly to him. Even though with Goku she takes more of a guardian role, with Krillin she's not like that. She just looks out for Goku a lot, even though at times he feels he doesn't really need that. More time passes and the 22nd World Tournament rolls around. For the semifinals, the first fight is Goku versus Krillin, a match between best friends and rivals. Krillin has really grown a lot, and it shows in this fight. Power-wise, Goku's still ahead, but in terms of strategies and techniques, Krillin's ahead. He's really put his mind to it the past few years. He's kind of accepted by now that Goku and Ruta being aliens probably makes them an advantage in terms of power. And of course he has focus on growing stronger physically, but he knows there's more to being a great warrior than just that. And especially if he wants to get ahead of these two, he'll need to leverage other options. And because of that, the fight's pretty close, but Goku ends up winning. In the crowd, everyone else is watching. Bulma and Yamcha are still here too, and they can't believe how much Krillin's applied himself in the past few years. He's really becoming a great warrior, so is Goku too. But they're more interested in the next match, Ruta vs 10. Roshi's in the crowd now too. Weirdly enough, he wasn't here before, but Jackie Chun was. Anyways, he's watching, and he wonders how Ruta will fare against him. This one's also an incredibly close match. From just a raw power scaling standpoint, I'd say by now in the story it would make sense that she's stronger than 10. Not by a massive margin, and 10 still has better experience. This is a really tough fought battle. And I'd like to say Ruta has the edge here, just because Goku was so close to winning originally, and if we're assuming that her and Goku are stronger and more skilled here, it would make sense that she wins, although still, it's not an easy battle. The final fight is Goku versus Ruta, a rematch just like before, and they're both ready to showcase the fruits of their training. Just as they promised, they've been pushing each other beyond their limits, both as martial arts rivals and as siblings. When one of them grows, the other does too. Ruta even tries to apply some things 10 was using in their fight, just to throw Goku off. The two of them have the same skill set, so she has to think outside the box. Although, Goku expected that. He studied how she fought against 10, as well as how 10 fought against her. She's not the only one who learned from that fight. He was watching very closely. As I said before, she's trying to be way more tactical, but Goku's adapting really quickly as well. They both are very adaptable fighters, but in different senses. When it comes to battle, they're both geniuses. The battle is pretty explosive, and it even ends with them going up into the sky, jumping so high that it almost looks like they're flying. But then the two of them fall from the sky above, each crashing into the ring below. Mid-air, they launch a blast at each other, pushing each of them out of the ring again. But quickly, Goku lets go of his blast and then launches it backwards, also spinning his tail around to act as a propeller. He jumps right over Ruta's Kamehameha, barely avoiding it and still getting singed by it. But he hits her with a powerful flying kick, and uses her basically as a footstool, knocking her even farther out of the ring, while he lands back in the ring perfectly okay. Although the two of them are equally beat up here, both very tired out and injured. Once again, it's a really close fight, but Goku won this time. The two had a lot of fun, and Roshi's proud of them. He actually feels really happy. Of the final 4 contestants, 3 of them were his students. And of course, one of his students won. What a great way to end this tournament. He looks forward to celebrating right after. As they leave the tournament, Krillin realizes he forgot something, but he runs into something terrifying. Tambourine's there. This time he's not alone though. Ruta followed behind him, just so the group wouldn't get separated. Just like how she acts like a guardian to Goku, that's kind of starting to rub off on how she treats everybody else. Tambourine's about to attack Krillin, and in the nick of time she gets there. Just as Tambourine attacks, she uses all her power to launch in, but she's pretty beat up already, and very worn out from the last match. She tackles Krillin and barely has enough time to get him out of the way from Tambourine's attack. And this makes Tambourine happy. He's gonna get 2 for 1 here. The two stand against Tambourine, equally terrified. They don't know who this guy is, but he's clearly really strong. Not too far away, Goku and his friends hear a scream. They run over to where Krillin is, and then they see him fly through a wall. Goku catches him. He's badly hurt, but he's alive. And weakly he points over to the roof, as Tambourine bursts through the roof and flies away, thinking that he killed Krillin, but also knowing that he killed another person. Goku immediately runs into the room, left speechless at the sight of Ruta dead on the ground. Goku is stunned, feeling an immense rage that he's never felt before. He doesn't want to believe what he's seeing, but he knows what he's seeing is true. Goku feels an immense rage, trying to tame it. Thankfully he's not here alone. Krillin is there with him, as are his other friends, as well as Roshi and Grandpa Gohan, who both are feeling pretty much the same thing right now. It's Roshi's student and Gohan's adoptive daughter. But they don't want Goku acting rash. They can't lose 2 of them. They are able to make Goku a bit more level-headed, but his rage still persists. And against their orders, he goes off on his own, trying to find the culprit again. Once the group is split up, I don't think Goku's journey would be too different. Same for Roshi and his crew. The biggest difference is that Gohan and Krillin are there. And Gohan would probably try and take charge after Roshi dies, but there's not really anything they can do against King Piccolo. They do try and steal his wish too, but that doesn't work either, which leads to Chaozu's death. Gohan, Krillin, and 10 are able to escape, but Piccolo makes his wish. This does leave Krillin with a lot of mixed feelings too, because first he felt responsible for Ruta dying, and now he feels helpless here. He couldn't do anything to save Roshi, and he had to watch him die too. Plus, he doesn't even know where Goku is at the moment. He can't lose another friend today. 10 steps up and knows that now he has to use the Mafuba for himself, thinking this is the best way to stop Piccolo. All the while, Goku is going through his normal training. Gohan and Krillin try to stop 10, but he needs to do this, especially because of Chaozu dying, and now Shenron's gone. They can't bring anyone back. Roshi, Chaozu, and Ruta are all dead permanently. His encounter with Piccolo goes normally, and Goku then comes over. Goku then arrives to stop Piccolo. In his first encounter with Piccolo, he nearly did die, but here, he's more than prepared. Plus, he was at a higher starting point, so his fight with Piccolo is a bit easier. Not easy, just easier. Gohan can sense this from far away, and he worries for Goku, hoping that he'll leave there, assuming that he's acting too rash. But he feels Goku's power. He's a lot stronger. What happened with him? Goku concludes his fight with Piccolo. He's in a little better shape than normal, but Piccolo still does get the chance to spit out an egg, creating Piccolo Jr. Now Goku has to figure out how to get the Dragon Balls back. and luckily he can go to Kami for that. And when Goku's up there, Kami does want to train Goku, but he asks if they could bring Ruta up here too. He'd feel pretty bad if he got ahead of her like this because it feels kind of unfair, especially if he doesn't keep her in the loop. Shenron is remade, and he revives everyone killed by Piccolo, as well as his sons. And remember in the last part I mentioned that wish from Bardock? Well, technically Ruta is still growing up and thriving here, fulfilling that wish from Bardock. Yeah, she died, but in the long run, it still applies, hence why I mentioned it before. Weirdly enough, she isn't even bothered by her death here. She does know it's her last chance of dying. If it happens again, she's dead for good. Although she just wonders what the hell happened and how Goku stopped it. Goku catches her up to speed. She's kinda mad that she wasn't here to fight Piccolo. It sounds like it would have been a fun battle. Goku takes pride in it too. It was a fun battle. Yeah, he hates the guy, but still. He can't lie and say King Piccolo wasn't a great opponent. But he wouldn't have gotten there without the help of Korn. And right now he's above Ruta. She'll just have to catch up again. The two of them train under Kami for the next few years. They briefly tell everyone this, but they pretty much immediately go up there. Although it makes Krillin feel sad again. In case you haven't noticed, his mentality's changing a lot in this scenario. First with him having two rivals, and then the differences of what happened in this arc. And since Ruta and Goku left so quickly, he didn't even get to apologize. He felt guilty for her death. She defended him, and he feels weak for it. Roshi assures Krillin that he wasn't weak. They were just dealing with a great opponent. But Krillin can't shake the feeling. He feels indebted to his friend. Actually, both of them. Goku ran off on his own, and he could have died as well. He almost did die. He's happy they're both fine. But once more, he's being left behind by them, and he feels some level of guilt. He makes a promise to himself. He'll get way stronger than before, and when he sees them again, likely at the next World Tournament, he's going to showcase that great power. Plus, he could apologize to both of them, even though he doesn't really need to. Although, it's more than just that he's feeling. The 23rd World Tournament rolls around, and the group reunites once more. Goku and Ruta look pretty much unrecognizable, having their Saiyan growth spurts. So, Krillin apologizes to them, and Goku says he doesn't need to. Honestly, it was more of his fault that he just ran off on his own. Krillin couldn't really have done much there, and if it were Krillin that died, he would have done the same thing. Plus, it all turned out okay in the end. He doesn't blame Krillin for not fully stopping him, nor for being unable to defeat Piccolo. And as for Ruta, she doesn't really care. Her death wasn't in vain, weirdly nonchalant about it again. Krillin shouldn't feel guilty. They're friends after all. Of course they're going to put their lives on the line for each other too. She's just happy that she was able to save him. And that's a weight off Krillin's shoulder. He's really glad to finally see them once more. Although, he still isn't fully honest here. That was one thing he wanted to say. There was something else. And yeah, we're entering fanfic territory. It's not surprising. We've been in here for a while. I've embraced it years ago. But Krillin once more realizes that this is his last chance to say something. For all he knows, he might not see them after this tournament. They also see Piccolo Jr. arrives at the tournament. Goku's not too concerned. He'd be glad to beat Piccolo once more. But Ruta promises that she'll be the one to beat him. After all, she was the one who died. Even though it wasn't King Piccolo himself that did it, still, she needs to get revenge. Piccolo laps both of them off. He'll claim victory here. For the tournament, we changed the order a bit. Before it began, everyone actually ran into Chi-Chi once more, but didn't realize it was her. Except for one person. Ruta realized who it was. Weirdly enough, no one around her realized it was Chi-Chi. She can't tell if they're just oblivious or she just has a really good eye. But she doesn't reveal it to them. The first match is Goku versus Chi-Chi, and before Goku goes up, Ruta tells Goku she knows who it is. She doesn't say who, she just wants to see if Goku's figured it out by now, and he still doesn't know. She should just tell him, but she'll just let him find out on his own. He really is oblivious. And then Goku starts really thinking hard, like to the point where it distracts him. But the second he's in the ring, he stops thinking about it. He's focused purely on the fight. And then he learns it's Chi-Chi. And then it all clicks with him too. Same for everyone else. Ruta is still surprised that it took this long because she met Chi-Chi before. She thought one of Goku's other friends would have pointed it out. So Goku gets engaged, and he wins this fight. Next up is Krillin versus Ruta. And especially after that last match, Krillin's getting really freaked out. First of all, he knows he's probably not going to win here. But he doesn't even care about that. He has to stop dragging his feet. It's now or never. And you know, Chi-Chi kind of gave him the courage to do this. It's probably not going to be as crazy when he says it now. His fight begins with Ruta, and very awkwardly in the middle of the tournament, Krillin randomly blurts out the fact that he likes her, and he wants to take her out on a date. The whole crowd goes silent, and it catches Ruta off guard too. It's the longest few seconds of Krillin's life. Even worse than when Tambourine was about to kill him. But after thinking about it for a bit, she has a really nonchalant response. Sure, why not? Once more, a weight off Krillin's shoulder. He can't believe that worked. And weirdly enough, she's back into the fight really quickly. Krillin's still distracted too. Not that he would have won anyways, but she beats him. And when she knocks Krillin out of the ring, she wants to make sure he was serious. And that wasn't some cheap attempt at catching her off guard. Now Krillin freaks out even more, but she laughs it off. She knows it was genuine. Goku's in the crowd watching with the rest of his friends too. This whole time he didn't even realize. Nor did Ruta. None of them realized Krillin liked her. Yamcha says he thought it was kind of obvious. Same for Roshi too. Thankfully Krillin's not a creep like Roshi anymore. Hopefully that goes well for them. There's no Tao in this tournament either, He was actually killed amidst the chaos against the Red Ribbon Army. Goku and Ruta were very thorough, especially Ruta. This is back when she was still a little bit more Saiyan-like, and it's kind of in their blood to be that good at being destructive. So, Ten doesn't get his scar, although it's going to show up in his renders because I'm lazy, I don't want to edit that out. Jokes aside, his fight is against Piccolo next, and Ten's really glad to showcase his newfound strength, with Piccolo also making a big show of this too, making sure they see his true power. But Ten gives Piccolo a really tough battle. Piccolo obviously has the upper hand, but he was hoping it would just be a complete wash. He actually does have to try here, and it makes him look worse. Ten was hoping he'd win this, but at least it was a blow to Piccolo's pride, and it proved his strength as a martial artist. Plus, by making Piccolo fight a bit more seriously, it allowed Goku and Ruta to study what he was up to. The next fight is Yamcha vs Kami, and that goes as normal. The first semi-final matchup is Goku vs Ruta, round 3. Goku says he's having deja vu. It's funny this happened once more. Even weirder, they both got married this match. This kind of makes Ruta mad. She doesn't know if he's trying to make her flustered, or if he's just truly being oblivious. She's not married. Actually, nor is he yet. He's just engaged to Chi-Chi. And in the crowd, just hearing that makes Chi-Chi happy. This whole interaction just makes everyone feel awkward. Even the announcer doesn't know what to say. He's never seen this much love talk during a tournament. Like I said, we're deep into fanfic territory right now. That's what ifs are anyways. You all should embrace it too. The fight between the two of them begins. Of course, they've trained together a bunch on the lookout, to the point where they're actually pretty even. Goku still does have a slight edge just because he started out a little higher, but it's very minimal. The fight becomes really close in the end, although Goku's the one who ends up winning, which makes him really happy because he broke the tie. The score is 1-2. Piccolo fights Kami, and that also happens like normal. And the final matchup is Piccolo vs Goku. This is a really tough fight, but Goku still has the advantage here. This tournament has had a lot of close matchups. Goku wins, and he thinks Ruta probably could have won this fight as well. He doesn't see why not. She's just as good of a warrior, and only slightly weaker. She's closed the gap as much as she can. But now it's her time to take the throne back. She could be the strongest once more, because now we enter a time skip. Goku and Chi-Chi officially get married, and they just do their own thing. They're pretty separate from the group. Krillin and Ruta officially become a couple, not instantly getting married like Goku and Chi-Chi did. The two of them were pretty unfamiliar with Earth relationships to begin with, so she doesn't really know what to do about this. It starts as a very awkward relationship. Over the time skip, Ruta does try and visit Goku, but he's really hard to reach, and he barely makes an effort to see anyone. Ruta at least gets to see everyone else, including Bulma, and Bulma feels pretty much the same way. It's good at least one of the siblings is social, and Bulma wonders when they're going to see Goku again. 5 years pass. At the end of the time skip, there's a reunion at Kame House. The same crew as before is there, except this time Ruta is there too. Same for Gohan. I would think by now she and Krillin are actually married, and they're looking forward to seeing Goku. Goku finally shows up and they get to see him for the first time in a while. And he has a kid with him too. This is a huge shock to everyone, especially Ruta too, because honestly she didn't even know that was possible. Gohan's also glad to hear that this kid's named after him, although just like Ruta, he would have liked to see Goku more. And seeing the tail, Ruta wonders if Gohan's ever became a grade 8 before, worried about him transforming. And Goku says they've been good about keeping him away from the moon. By the way, the two of them do still have their tails. Kami never cut them off because Ruta was able to avoid Goku transforming again. They both decided they wanted to keep their tails. Although Ruta just wishes she got to see Goku more. Krillin too. It's good everything works out with Krillin and Ruta, but like I said before, Krillin's mindset's pretty different here, due to the changes in his upbringing. He feels bad that once more, him and Goku grew distant for a bit, even though they still definitely are best friends. As for Ruta, she says it's bad enough they didn't know what happened to the rest of their family. This time on Earth has really changed her outlook. At least for Goku, it doesn't matter because, of course, he lost his memories. But for her, she always has kind of wondered what her family's like. Saiyans don't tend to have deep family bonds like that, but now that she's become way more of an Earthling, that has affected her. Mainly because her only memory of her parents is a good memory. Maybe it's too idealistic. Maybe they're not great, and there's also the fact that they're likely dead. But still, she has one family member left, she wants to make sure he's around. Their outfits really reflects the fact that they're basically Earthlings now. Goku's had his signature outfit for a while, and as for Ruta, when they went to train with Kami, she ditched the armor. She still kept it, and her outfit is still somewhat similar, but it's more like a mix between Saiyan and Earthling. Although now that she mentioned it, it makes Goku wonder, didn't Ruta tell him before they had an older brother? Well, just like with her parents, she thinks something happened with him. She doesn't particularly know how Saiyan families work, but she thinks he would have visited by now. If not for a good reason, a bad one. No point thinking about that. They enjoy their reunion. Until somebody new shows up. Having already encountered Piccolo, a man lands on the island. Goku doesn't recognize his face, but he could tell that armor's the same as what they came to Earth in. It instantly clicks with both him and Ruta. This guy is another Saiyan. Their estranged brother Raditz. He gets a good look at both of them. It's nice to see his younger siblings after so long. The first thing Ruta asks is where Raditz has been all these years. as well as what happened to their family. Weren't they supposed to come here and get them? Raditz explains that he was with Frieza's army, and that planet Vegeta was destroyed. So, every Saiyan there is dead, except for 3 other Saiyans. Him, Vegeta, and Nappa, as well as these 2. There's definitely no other Saiyans out there, like no secret brother for Vegeta, and no mutant Saiyans on some deserted planet. Definitely not. Well, that at least gives Ruta some sort of closure because now she knows what happened. She wasn't yearning to meet her parents, or Raditz for that matter, in the first place. She was just really curious as to what happened because something clearly did happen. At least now she knows, but that leaves the question, why is Raditz here now? Why did it take so long, and what made him come here in the first place? The meeting slowly starts to go bad as Raditz explains what he wants. He also learns that Kakarot hit his head, but did Ruta hit her head too? She remembers her name and clearly remembers the fact that she's a Saiyan, so what's her excuse? Actually, Goku does remember some of his past thanks to Ruta. He just embraces Earthling name, and she never decided to get one. Earth has changed the 2 of them, and they're not like the Saiyans that Raditz wants. If this is what being a Saiyan means, they completely reject it. It's so strange. Ruta knew that Saiyans were warriors, but not like this. They're just space war criminals. Goku also clearly never cared much or thought much about the Saiyans, but this really cements the fact that he doesn't align with them. Raditz gives his demands one more time and also threatens them. He also notices a kid there. Interesting. Whose kid is this? They're commingling with the Earthlings. Goku immediately steps up to protect Gohan, and that answers it for Raditz. Kakarot has a son, a half Saiyan. He assumes Ruta's the same as well. And then Krillin steps up. He's going to stand beside them no matter what. In the original story, he did initially try and stand up to Raditz, but here he could actually tell Raditz is a threat too, and this is basically part of him not being cowardly anymore. He's made it a goal to be more brave like this. And of course he's going to team up with his wife and best friend. Ruta says if they're going to fight, they're going to take it away from here, because clearly it's going to become a fight eventually. That's fine. Once Raditz beats them, he'll drag them back to this place and watch him destroy Kame House. Actually, he'll have them watch everything. He'll kill all life on this planet, unless they do decide to join him, of course. He'll be back for Gohan as well. Raditz heads off and the 3 of them follow him. One thing I actually didn't know in the past few parts is that Ruta can't ride Nimbus. Not that it matters much because she could fly here, but Goku can use it, not her. And besides the obvious fact that Ruta's here, Krillin's joining too. But as they fly over, somebody else starts to fly alongside them. It's Piccolo. He actually has been watching this whole time, and he joins for the same reasons as usual. He did encounter Raditz before as well. And whether they like it or not, they can't beat Raditz alone. The collective power of the 4 of them should be enough though. So they all arrive on the battlefield with Raditz surprised to see someone else joins. And he laughs it off. 4 of them are needed to fight him. That really proves that they're not confident. Sure, he's outnumbered, but he could definitely handle this. Goku, Krillin, and Ruta jump him together, with Piccolo also landing some attacks but slowly backing away. The others know what he's up to, but as for Raditz, he thinks Piccolo's retreating. That's smart. He knows he can't win here. Let's briefly cover some powers too. Just for Goku, Ruta, and Krillin. Goku's at a power level of 600, the strongest of our protagonists. Not too far behind him is Ruta at 550. She's pretty close to catching up to Goku, especially because he did have to take some time to raise Gohan. For her, she's been doing a lot more training. And this also affects Krillin, who's at 400, the strongest Earthling here. Piccolo's power is the same, and of course with all 4 of them combined, they do overpower Raditz, but that's only together. Individually they can't do much, but along the way they made some plans. Piccolo's charging some attack right now, so he can't fight. It's up to the 3 of them to hold Raditz off. Ruta had another idea along the way too. Go for Raditz's tail. Her and Goku's tail are actually weak spots still. They haven't really trained with it much, and neither of them have gotten control on Grade 8 because they haven't turned into Grade Apes. At least not since Goku last did. But theoretically, Raditz's tail should be a weak point too. And it definitely is. Ruta goes for it and is able to get Raditz in place. The fight stops for a bit, with Raditz trying to convince her to let him go. Goku buys his reasoning, but Ruta doesn't really buy it. She doesn't have a problem with killing Raditz, but she prefers not to do it. They should just stop this fight here. Raditz takes offense to this because that implies they can kill him. They can't. He stops with his lies and immediately goes back to threatening them. And he says even if he's defeated here somehow, it won't matter. The other 2 Saiyans will come for them. It would be much better for them if they just joined the Saiyan side. Through the pain, Raditz moves one of his arms, punching Ruta right in the face. Freeing himself, he then quickly swings around, rapidly breaking one of her arms. Goku and Krillin rush to him, but each with one fist he knocks them down. Ruta gets back up, fighting with one arm. Also trying to go for his tail again, but he then instead grabs hers. That's not going to work twice, and she has to remember she has the same weakness. Using her tail, he lifts her up, then slams her into the ground, knocking her unconscious and taking her out of the fight. Goku then gets back up, rapidly attacking him, but Raditz dodges or parries all of his attacks. He then tries to go for Goku's tail as well, but he knows to look out for that, wrapping it around his waist like Raditz does. Raditz counters with his own combo, a Dynamite Monday. Goku simply can't keep up, and he's already a bit injured as is, so this does the job. Raditz then jumps up in the air, charging a double Sunday, ready to launch one at Ruta and one at Goku. But then a disc of energy flies past him, a Kienzan from Krillin. So he stops charging the attack and then lands back on the ground. He should have ran away like that Namekian. Wait, Namekian? What? He doesn't know what Raditz is talking about. Not that it matters. Raditz slowly walks up to Krillin, just intimidating him. It's a shame Raditz has to kill his brother and sister, especially with them being Saiyans. But for his brother-in-law, he doesn't really care. This kinda does terrify Krillin because, yeah, the fact didn't even hit him that this guy is his brother-in-law. And as Raditz slowly and intimidatingly walks up to him, Krillin jumps back, trying to charge a Kamehameha. He launches a full power blast at Raditz. And Raditz simply stands in place, countering with his own, only using one hand. Krillin's power does flare up briefly from this attack too, and it's impressive for an Earthling. But it's not going to be enough to save Kakarot and Ruta. And Krillin kinda knows that. He's just glad Raditz is standing in one place. At the very last millisecond, Raditz's scouter goes off, detecting something else near him. He tries to jump out of the way, but it's already too late. First, he takes the full brunt of Krillin's attack. But more importantly, a beam is sent flying right through his side. Piccolo's standing there, not too far away. He went a bit further back, and he did have to conceal himself. But this whole time he's been charging the special beam cannon. Although, with the Raditz having a little bit extra reaction time, this isn't a critical blow. So, Raditz doesn't die from it, but it does take him out of the fight. He collapses to the ground with a hole in his side. Krillin then runs over to Ruta, and Goku gets back up too. He didn't lose consciousness. Ruta wakes up too, and the four of them walk over to Raditz. Krillin asks them, so, what are they doing now? Piccolo has a pretty smart idea. Just kill him. This is the perfect opportunity. But Goku thinks they shouldn't, and Ruta also doesn't necessarily want to. Krillin's inclined to agree with both of them, and Piccolo's not sure why they want to keep him alive. Well, for Krillin, he actually did want to kill Raditz at first, but he trusts Ruta and Goku's judgment more than his own. It is their brother after all. He's not going to go against what his best friend wants, and especially not what his wife wants. Goku thinks it would be a waste of a great warrior to just kill him like that. As for Ruta, she thinks it's important to keep him alive because first of all, he can give some more information. He said there were 2 other Saiyans out there, and they're going to come here too. And Raditz reiterates that. That's exactly right. Nothing they do will save them now. Well, that's more of a reason to keep him alive. And besides, who's to say they can't get him on their side? Piccolo thinks that's ridiculous, but he also realizes the irony in that because he just teamed up with them. Although he clarifies, this is a one-time thing, and it's only to prevent the Saiyans from taking over Earth because Earth is his to take over. Yeah, right. But either way, for all those reasons, they decide not to kill him just yet. If they need to, they will. And they're not going to heal him either. Raditz proclaims that this wound won't stop him. He'll just heal from it on his own. If they think this is going to kill him, it won't be enough. And it's a good thing he confirmed that. Alright, they'll just leave him as is. And Raditz warns them again of the Saiyans. In 1 year's time, they will be here. And he'll be sure to join those 2 in fighting them. To make sure he doesn't leave either, Ruta then goes for a spaceship and picks it up, with her and Krillin flying back to Kame House. You know, maybe this will be a nice gift for Bulma. Ruta's sure she'll find some fun with this. Without saying a word, Piccolo goes off on his own preparing to train. Not only will he kill those Saiyans, he'll kill Ruta and Goku. This battle showed him that he's still behind the 2 of them. The last one left with Raditz is Goku, and Raditz questions why they're like this. Goku says Earth made them this way, and he's really glad he didn't turn out to be like Raditz, nor did Ruta. Raditz blamed it on Goku hitting his head, but honestly he doesn't think that's the case. It's the people around him that made him this way because, again, he does actually remember his past thanks to Ruta. Look at Ruta too. She didn't bump her head, she's like this. And Goku says if Raditz ever does want to join them, he'll welcome it. And he lets Raditz know his honest thoughts. Their sister was always curious about their past. But as for Goku, he'd rather not kill such a strong opponent and let his strength go to waste. He looks forward to fighting Raditz again. Hopefully, they'll fight alongside each other next time. And they could even grow further if he decides to train and join them. Either way though, he'll see Raditz soon. He's sure he'll come around and maybe even stop being the way he is. Raditz is left alone in the middle of nowhere. And he can't heal from this, but it still is incredibly painful. Weirdly enough, about a day later, somebody comes back to see him. It's Ruta. She gives him half of a Senzu bean. This won't fully heal him, but it's going to ensure he's just not in excruciating agony over here. Not only would that just be cruel, but Raditz really won't be inclined to join them if they just leave him like this. She then flies off. Raditz does heal up from it, but only partially. It still is incredibly painful and he does have a huge scar, but he can't really do anything against them. First of all, he can't fight them, he's too weak right now. And second of all, he can't even leave because they took his spaceship. He's stuck here. And you know, he does wonder. While those 2 are weak, they became pretty powerful for this relatively weak planet. The gravity here is low, the power of the population is low, everything about it. And they're so kind-hearted, but still, they did become good warriors, even though they're individually weaker than him. How strong can a low-class Saiyan like him truly grow? He tried to kill these 2 and they let him live. Vegeta and Nappa showed no regard for him in general. Plus, now that he thinks about it, if they come to this planet and see Raditz here still alive, they're probably going to try and kill him, either thinking he betrayed them or that he failed his mission. So, what now? As Raditz is left to his own devices, everyone else trains in preparation for the Saiyans. Goku begins to train Gohan, but then realizes it might be better for him to start with Roshi. So Gohan does get some training here, but it's with a different teacher, because Piccolo's on his own and he has no reason to train Gohan right now. Ruta and Krillin of course work together, and as for the other Earthlings, they train on Kami's lookout. But Kami then mentions a good idea for Goku, Ruta, and Krillin. They've done the highest level of training on this Earth. Krillin actually did go to see Kami over these past 5 years, so this includes him as well. There is a higher god that they can go to, and normally he wouldn't say this, but the guy actually contacted him. King Kai got in contact with Kami because he saw the Saiyans coming to Earth. So, Kami wants the three to train with King Kai. There is an issue though. First of all, they would have to go to Otherworld. As living beings, it's not impossible, but it's just harder because usually that's for dead people. But also they have to go across Snake Way, which takes way too long. And as living people, they can't feasibly go across Snake Way, they'll starve. Unless they bring a bunch of food with them, and then in that case, it's going to take too long. They need to train to cross Snake Way first, and then they can go to see King Kai. So that's exactly what they do, even going into the time chamber for a bit, only for about 2 months. This way they can get ahead on their training and make sure they make it to King Kai's in time. Piccolo's training on his own also goes pretty well, but he also realizes that he might not be growing too much on his own. It might be better to have someone to train with. Going with Raditz is too risky. Honestly, he doesn't even know if the guy died yet. He probably did. So there's the next best option, going to Kami's lookout. They think at first he's trying to attack, but really, he does actually want to train up here. Yamcha, Tenshinhan, and Chaozu will be great punching bags for him. Obviously they're not going to be treated like that. But the three actually do spar with him for a bit, and they do pretty well against him, especially Ten. It's like a Raditz situation. Piccolo is stronger than them individually, but collectively they do overpower him. He realized this training might be more beneficial than he once thought, and hopefully the other three come back soon enough to train with him. A year passes. Vegeta and Nappa arrive on Earth. Goku, Ruta, and Krillin actually do get back in time, thanks to Krillin suggesting that they leave early because they need some time to travel across Snake Way. So they make it back in time. They meet up with Ten, Yamcha, and Chaozu, as well as Piccolo. And Goku asks Piccolo if he's seen anything about Raditz, and Piccolo says he doesn't care about Raditz. He didn't even bother to check on him. Well, he couldn't have left Earth, and clearly he hasn't been causing any chaos, so Ruta wonders what he's been up to. Honestly, Krillin thinks it's better that they haven't seen him. That guy rubs him the wrong way. Vegeta and Nappa greet their opponents. They're not going to be the first ones to fight though. They plant some Cybermen, sicken them on the group. They doubt the Earthlings will be able to beat them. Maybe those two Saiyans will be able to make it out. Sure, they might have beat Raditz, but taking on all the Cybermen at once, that's going to be too much for them. And that's weird, they said it like they killed Raditz. Goku and Ruta didn't kill Raditz. Don't the Saiyans know he's alive right now? Unless he actually hasn't contacted them recently. Actually, that would mean he hasn't contacted them at all. They can't focus on that now. Instead of questioning it, they get ready to fight the Cybermen. But they hear a shout from not too far away. 2 purple beams come down from the sky above, being dragged across the battlefield, killing all the Cybermen. A man with long hair then drops down to the ground in front of them, breathing heavily but then standing up. He's happy. That attack worked. He really has grown stronger. Vegeta and Nappa don't know who they're looking at first, and same for the rest of the group. But Goku and Ruta could sense his energy, and they could also tell by the long hair, especially once he turns around and see the giant scar on his side. The man looking back at them with a menacing grin, it's Raditz, looking almost unrecognizable. But why did he fight the Cybermen? Is he here to join the Saiyans, or is he here to maybe fight against them? Honestly, Raditz himself isn't even too sure right now. Yup, we're doing Biker Raditz again. Vegeta and Nappa are taken aback at first, surprised to see Raditz is actually alive. They thought he just died. But why didn't he contact them this entire time? You know what, that doesn't really matter to them. In Nappa's eyes he should die because either he failed his mission, or he joined their side. Both should be grounds for disposing of him. And this is pretty much what Raditz expected, just as he thought. He knew that no matter what, he'd probably be screwed here. If he tried to rejoin the Saiyans, they would kill him for being useless. They never really thought much of him anyways. They probably would have wanted him to come back with Kakarot and Ruta, or not come back at all. Sure, he could have just sat out for this entire fight, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to fight here. Vegeta agrees with Nappa too. Either way, Raditz deserves to die now. They can't tell if he's a traitor or just a weak failure. Maybe even both. But Raditz eggs them on, beckoning Nappa to fight him. He thinks it'll be a pretty fun battle. The two should be on an even playing field right now. And Nappa thinks this is hilarious. Yeah, like Raditz would ever be on his level. But sure, he'll humor that, and he'd be glad to kill Raditz as an example. Vegeta lets him go ahead. He'll watch from the sidelines. He'll even wait to fight the others because he wants to see this. Ruta wonders what Raditz's game is here, but Goku's just happy that his plan worked. It seems Raditz is going to fight alongside them. Maybe not for the same reasons, but at least he's on their side now and not fighting against them. Something about him seems very different, besides just how he looks. Just by looking at him, Goku can tell. He's grown a lot stronger. He's been training on his own. But not just that, Raditz lets his younger siblings in on a little secret. When Saiyans heal after getting close to death, they grow significantly. And he thanks Piccolo for this too. That attack nearly killing him actually made him grow a lot stronger. Sure, it did take some time for him to heal, especially with only half a senzu beam, but he did see a nice boost in power, and he got a pretty cool scar from it too. And Nappa sees that mark on his side, so that's what happened. He nearly did almost die, but these Earthlings spared him. How pathetic. First he lost, and then he had to be spared? And now he's on their side. Well, Raditz says he's not exactly on their side. He just wants to fight Vegeta and Nappa. They're simply a common enemy. He has no reason to fight everyone else here, and he's glad to show Nappa the might of a low-class warrior. Raditz showcases his full power. Over this time he learned another trick too. He learned how to better control his ki. He could sense ki, and actively suppress his strength just like Goku and Ruta did before. It was kind of tough to get the hang of, especially doing this alone, but still, he figured it out. Nappa shows his full strength too. Much to his surprise, Raditz is giving him a challenge. Raditz is slightly weaker than Nappa, but it shouldn't be like this. Nappa should be much stronger than him. How did Raditz close the gap like this? Nappa spins around midair, directly hitting Raditz with his leg, kicking him to the ground below. He then opens his mouth wide and launches a beam from it, with Raditz returning his own beam. Goku gets ready to jump in, but Raditz says he needs to do this alone, channeling more power into his blast. And then with his other hand, he diverts a really small ball of ki towards Nappa, hitting Nappa right in the chin, causing Nappa's blast to explode in his mouth, with Raditz's blast then hitting him at full force. Nappa floats in the air unconscious, then falling down to the ground, now also with no teeth. Vegeta walks up to Nappa, and seeing him unconscious on the ground like that is pathetic. So, he kills Nappa. It's just like they were saying to Raditz. They have no use for weaklings who can't fight. Raditz needs to take a second now. He's worn out and a bit injured, and he looks over at his sibling. If they're really itching to fight that much, they should fight Vegeta. So Ruta and Goku step up. Normally Goku would like to fight alone here, but Ruta urges him to fight together with her. Plus, they have a ton of support around them. After what happened with Raditz, she realizes strength in numbers is important here. Sure, King Kai's training did help them grow really strong, but she wants to be very cautious. This is mostly from Krillin urging her to fight like this too. So, while reluctant, Goku agrees to this strategy. He wants to test out how strong he is one-on-one, but yeah, this is fine. He could always test that out with Ruta or Raditz alone. The two rush Vegeta together as he powers up. Ruta then stops midway as Goku continues running towards him. She places a hand on the ground, channeling some ki into it. She's developed more of her own moves too. She shares a lot with Goku, but also has some of her own. Until a few months ago, she never actually named them, but after hearing Raditz's name as attacks about a year ago, she decided that's actually pretty cool. Goku doesn't really need any flashy moves, but finds it kind of funny that she uses them. He starts trading blows with Vegeta, but then he quickly jumps out of the way as an orange blast comes out of the ground, engulfing Vegeta completely. Another one flies towards him from behind. He quickly turns around to block it, but then another one hits him. This attack is Volcanic Blast, an attack that moves through the ground and is perfect for attacking someone that can't sense ki. And just like Raditz, her attacks have a naming scheme. Hers based on disasters, both natural and unnatural. These blasts hitting him kind of caught him off guard, and one of them sends him flying right into Goku. Vegeta braces himself at the last second, but Goku also powers up at the last second, using Kaioken ×2, hitting Vegeta with a powerful punch breaking right through his guard. Ruta then rushes over and then jumps into the air with Goku, sending a barrage of blue ki blasts flying downwards. This attack is called Monsoon. Goku just calls it a ki blast volley, and Vegeta calls that his technique. He sends his own ki blasts flying upwards, with them being powerful enough to break through Goku and Ruta's blasts. He then launches up and continues fighting midair. Raditz can't believe what he's seeing. They're actually doing it. They're actually putting pressure on Vegeta. And what was that thing Kakarot did? His aura turned red for a second, and it seems like he grew a lot stronger. Raditz could feel his ki rise significantly. Piccolo says that must be what they learned with King Kai, and Krillin confirms it too. He actually has access to the same thing, but it's a little bit tough for him to use, and same for them. But they have a better control than he does. It's called the Kaioken. And even though they have to use it sparingly, Krillin's confident that it will really help here, especially in a 2v1. Vegeta considers going Great Ape, but he doesn't know how well that'll work because first of all, creating an artificial moon will drop his power a little bit, but on top of that, 4 other people here have tails. One of them's Gohan, who he's not too concerned about, but then he remembers that kid's a hybrid Saiyan. Who knows what he's capable of? And as for Raditz, he's not too concerned. But Kakarot and Ruta both have tails, so they'll transform too. Vegeta doesn't realize that of these 4, Raditz is the only one who knows how to control Great Ape. So he could do this and he'd actually win, but he doesn't because it's too risky. That could make things worse. The fight ends with a beam clash. Goku charges a Super Kamehameha, buffed with Kaioken. Ruta holds out a hand to each side, charging a small green ki blast in each, surrounded by electricity. She then brings her hands together as if it were a Kamehameha. This is her new signature move, Nuclear Winter. Goku thinks it's just a really flashy Kamehameha, which kind of bumps her out. She thought it looked cool. She also buffs her attack with Kaioken and the two launch their attacks together, colliding with Vegeta's Gallic Gun. The two beams swirl together and they don't need to go beyond Kaioken ×2. It still is stressing them, but they don't need to stress themselves even further. Their beams hold Vegeta's back and slowly start to overpower him. But Vegeta's making a comeback. He thinks he could stop this, until a blast hits him from the side. Raditz launches his own beam. Again, he doesn't really care to help them. He just wants to piss Vegeta off a little more. He was talking a big game before about killing Raditz, and look where he is now. Raditz finds it really amusing to shatter his pride like that. But then another beam comes up from below. It's from Gohan. It's not really too powerful, but it is buffed with his anger. He yells at Vegeta to stay away from his family, and Ruta's pretty surprised to sense this. Since when did Gohan have power like that? Goku says he doesn't know. He never saw Gohan's anger explode that much. And this isn't even the full extent of it. Vegeta can't defend against the two beams coming towards his side, but it doesn't really matter because they're not too strong. But they do still hurt though, slowly wearing him down as the other two beams come closer and closer. Piccolo yells out to Krillin, "Now's the time." Vegeta then sees a yellow disc of energy coming towards him. It's about to make a direct hit, but something tells Vegeta he needs to dodge this. Something's off about this attack. So at the very last second, Vegeta maneuvers himself. The Kianzan kinda cuts into his arm, and it's a pretty deep cut too. Vegeta realizes if he were hit by that, he would have been cut clean in half. This of course leaves him open to the other blast. He avoided being bisected, but now he faces the full brunt of both Goku and Ruta's attacks, being sent further into the sky and then falling downwards. Now finally defeated. Piccolo goes over to where Nappa once was, because Vegeta just launched a blast downwards, creating a crater. He thought maybe there would be some remnant of Nappa below, but no, he's been completely decimated. So Nappa's dead. Now that only leaves Vegeta. Raditz nervously chuckles. The fact Vegeta killed Nappa means he was really serious about killing Raditz. That could have easily been him if Nappa wasn't so cocky and wanted to fight first. Goku goes to help Raditz up, and Raditz surprisingly welcomes it. Weirdly enough, fighting alongside his siblings was pretty exhilarating. He's still weaker than the two of them, and he fought here for selfish reasons. So he doesn't really show it, but he did enjoy it. Krillin, Ten, and Yamcha go over to Vegeta, with Ruta joining them too. Krillin asks Ruta what they should do with Vegeta, even though he already knows the answer. They're probably going to want to spare him, right? Well, yeah, of course Goku's up for this, especially with the fact that he didn't get to fight Vegeta one-on-one. He really is a great warrior, and they were just being cautious here. They were trying to prevent the planet from being destroyed and everyone around them dying. A 1v1 could wait for later. And Vegeta has no clue of what his next move is. These weaklings are probably going to kidnap him and keep him on this planet, just like they did with Raditz. Thankfully he never heard of the Dragon Balls, so by extension, Frieza didn't either. But this means Vegeta has no clue of what his next steps will be. He could tell Frieza about the other Saiyans, but he's not too sure. He doesn't really want to rat them out. Besides, if anyone were to kill them, it's going to be Vegeta himself. He'll find a way to kill them on his own, and then he could aim for Frieza. Raditz is pretty happy with this outcome. It's the first time he saw low-class Saiyans band together against a high-class opponent like that. Maybe low-class warriors are capable of great things. Goku and Ruta know nothing about that, and Krillin's freaked out to hear that they're low-class because they're like the strongest people on Earth, by far, and they're considered low-class. Thankfully, as far as they know, Vegeta's the only other Saiyan left, so that kinda eases his fear a bit. But that's also more of a reason for him to grow too, especially with his wife and best friend getting so far ahead of him. There's then a powerful glow. The ground beneath Vegeta erupts, and with the last of his strength, he launches into the sky. They look up and see a space pod flying above. It catches Vegeta. He covertly called it over here, and just made a distraction to escape. They try and stop it, but it's already too late. By the time they get up there, Vegeta's already left Earth. Well, at least they have their answer now. He's not staying here on Earth, and they're probably going to see him again eventually. So what is next for Vegeta? He's going to reinvent himself. Vegeta goes back to one of his bases, and Frieza eventually meets up with him, which is a surprise because he came there personally to see Vegeta. He wonders what's up with him and where he's been. And this clues Vegeta in, making him realize that Frieza's probably been spying on him, so no point in hiding everything. Although, he can embellish it a bit. He says they were going to take over a planet and wanted to recruit some extra help. It turned out there were two other Saiyans out there, so he, Nappa, and Raditz went to find them. But in the process, Raditz and Nappa died, with the other two Saiyans also dying as well. Vegeta barely made it out, but with him being a high-class Saiyan, it's not too surprising he was able to defeat them. And Frieza's glad to hear this, thanking Vegeta for being open with him. Of course, mocking him. He sure does hope Vegeta isn't scheming, because if he finds out Vegeta was doing something, well, he has no need to say what happens next. And Vegeta says if he were, he'd be digging his own grave. Besides, why would he want his two squad mates to die? Sure, they might have been dead weight, but still. Thankfully, his scouter did get destroyed partway through the battle on Earth. So Frieza can't really verify all of this, but he makes his leave. And Vegeta curses it all. Damn it, why does he have to listen to Frieza and play along with everything he says? He needs something new, besides just raw power. Although, besides getting more power, he has no idea of where to start. He'll kill those Saiyans on Earth, and then next, he'll get strong enough to defeat Frieza and take over his empire. With no clue where to go next, he asks Zarbon and Dodoria to help him train. And they actually kinda like the idea. It's a chance for them to use Vegeta as a punching bag. He did grow stronger from his fight on Earth, but not enough to contend with them, especially both at once. And they do help at first, and they do take it a bit far, which is kinda what Vegeta wanted. It's a painful method, but after what happened with Raditz, he realized he needs to exploit his Zenkais more. That is how Raditz caught up to Nappa so quickly, so why not make use of his own biology too? Weeks pass on and Vegeta continues doing this, growing stronger not only from training but Zenkais as well. And at some point he's had enough. Now he has enough power to go off on his own. He's also learned to control his ki better too, suppressing it around Zarbon and Dodoria, just to make sure they don't get scared about him getting too strong, and so he can take more damage and exploit more Zenkais. But now he's built himself up enough. He's gonna go train on his own. On a whim, he basically deserts the Frieza Force, going off to a harsh planet to train on his own. He'll be back to Earth pretty soon, and he'll win on his own, even if they team up against him like cowards again. Vegeta continues his training, and on Earth, they all do the same. They know Vegeta's gonna be back someday, but they'll beat him again. They did it once, they could do it one more time. But Goku's also prepared this time to fight alone because he did want to do that initially. He knows Vegeta's probably going to be much stronger, so he's got to be much stronger too, enough to fight him 1v1 with no help. And after witnessing the battle, Piccolo gets some new ideas. He's going to go to King Kai so he's not left behind. Goku, Ruta, and even Raditz are growing incredibly powerful. He needs to get beyond them. About a year passes, and at some point, Frieza finds Vegeta. This wasn't really his top priority, but Vegeta did desert him, and he's known for a while that Vegeta's been scheming. He would have killed him earlier, but Vegeta was able to escape. But this time it will be his death. If this were a year ago, Vegeta would have been concerned fighting Frieza, but now he has no worries. This is exactly what he trained for. Well, mostly to fight everyone else on Earth, but then it spiraled into something else. He realized he could be the strongest. He can grow even stronger than Frieza. He just needs to put his mind to it. He's grown vastly over this past year. He's a completely different warrior. So he welcomes a fight with Frieza. It's the first time he gets to see Frieza battle. In his first form, Frieza actually can't contend with Vegeta. He tries to read Vegeta's power level, and his scour just breaks. It's into the 7 digits. That can't be right. But Vegeta continues fighting him, and he actually does have an advantage. Vegeta's a bit taken aback once Frieza transforms, but he's not too concerned. In his second form, Vegeta could still contend. His third form gives him a little trouble. And then he sees Frieza's final form. This is where the real issues begin. And Frieza laughs. For the first time in a while, he actually was worried. He's surprised Vegeta got that far. But clearly Vegeta didn't know the true extent of his power. He commends Vegeta for growing as fast as he did, but he's not letting Vegeta escape again. Clearly he is too dangerous. This is the end of the line. Vegeta tries his best to fight Frieza in his final form, but he can't really do much. His power level is around 3 million right now. But he's injured too, and Frieza is far beyond him even at just 50%. Vegeta can't do anything here. But Frieza makes one fatal mistake. He doesn't make the fight quick. He continues egging Vegeta on. Vegeta is brought to his knees. After all this time, all this training, reinventing himself completely with all this hard work, it still wasn't enough to fight Frieza. He should be better than this. He can only imagine how strong Kakarot's crew has grown. He probably can beat them, but now he's not going to be able to. Frieza's going to kill him before he could do anything else. And the part that stings most is the fact that he got so close to winning. He also made the same mistake Frieza did by dragging the fight out. If he just tried to kill Frieza in his first form right away without enjoying the fight, yeah, he would have been able to do it. All these negative emotions flare up within Vegeta. Frieza points a finger at his head, charging a death beam inches away from it. If it makes Vegeta feel any better, he's the first person to challenge Frieza this much. If only he stayed loyal, it wouldn't have had to come to this. But almost as if it's instinct, Vegeta lifts a hand up, grabbing Frieza's arm and crushing it, moving it away from his face, and he's actually able to push it away. Frieza can't believe the strength he's feeling. Why is Vegeta getting stronger? A golden aura surrounds his hand and then creeps its way up Vegeta's arm. He slowly stands up. It surrounds him entirely. Vegeta's not even sure what this is, but he embraces it completely. With a brilliant flash of light, Vegeta transforms, being pushed into becoming the first Super Saiyan. Frieza punches him in the face and Vegeta just takes it, not even feeling the pain. And he just smirks, grabbing Frieza's head and then kneeing him in the stomach, knocking the wind out of Frieza. It looks like all that hard work did pay off. Vegeta does enjoy himself a bit longer, but he doesn't want to prolong this fight too much. Frieza doesn't even have the chance to go full power. Vegeta grabs onto Frieza's tail, swinging him around above him, then rapidly slamming him to the ground over and over again. He lets go of Frieza midair, then punches him up into the sky. He cocks a hand back, charging green ki around it. Channeling all his power into it, he fires, calling it a final shine attack. Frieza is completely decimated by this, and Vegeta is completely drunk on power. He's gonna go to King Cold next. He thought he was a Super Saiyan before, but now he truly is a Super Saiyan. This has to be it. This transformation, this is what it is. He'll make great use of it. He doesn't even care about taking over Frieza's empire or anything, he just wants to be the strongest. First, he will need to kill King Cold, and then he's gonna go kill Kakarot and his friends. This sends Vegeta down a darker path, as he makes his way around, killing more of the Frieza Force, brutally destroying all of them, leading to him killing King Cold as well. And now his final task, going back to Earth. One day Raditz feels something approaching. It's Vegeta's power. He flies over to where he thinks the ship's gonna land. And sure enough, he sees it overhead. Without even hesitating, he quickly lifts a hand up, trying to blast it right out of the sky. But at the last moment the ship veers off course, and then Vegeta jumps out, grabbing onto Raditz' attack and throwing it right back at him. He didn't think he'd encounter Raditz first, but this is good. This will draw out the others. A fight between Vegeta and Raditz begins. Raditz has grown a lot stronger, but of course Vegeta has too, and he's holding back. Raditz is getting a pretty bad feeling, and he can kind of tell Vegeta's holding something back too. So he fights cautiously, trying whatever he can to defeat Vegeta here and now. But then they sense other powers approaching. Ruta and Goku join the fight. Goku steps up to fight Vegeta first. Not many words are exchanged. They already know what's going down here. And just like he promised, Goku is prepared for a 1v1 this time. He thanks Raditz for holding Vegeta off too, but he thinks he's got this. Goku and Vegeta start their battle, with Ruta and Raditz watching on the side, and Raditz didn't even notice. Krillin's there as well. He arrived moments later because he actually spent time trying to find Vegeta's ship. It wasn't too far away and he destroyed it. That way Vegeta's not going to be able to leave this time. Goku's battle with Vegeta goes well at first, but Vegeta slowly starts getting an upper hand. He shows more and more power. But Goku utilizes Kaioken, but Vegeta starts to power up. As Goku launches his blast, Vegeta fully powers up, simply swatting away Goku's attack, as it explodes behind Vegeta, illuminating the area and giving them a silhouette of a Super Saiyan. The light dissipates and they can clearly see Vegeta's transformed now. He does remember that technique Kakarot was using. He forgot he could enhance his power, but not like this. Even if all of them come at him at once, while enhancing their power with whatever technique that is, they can't win here. And that's because Vegeta's become a Super Saiyan. Goku and Ruta have no clue of what he's talking about, but Raditz is frozen with fear. He doesn't believe it at first, but seeing Vegeta transformed, there's no other explanation. It has to be the Super Saiyan of legend. Goku, Ruta, and Krillin are a bit confused, so Raditz explains what it is. Actually, they never really knew what it was just a rumor, but it seems now it's real. And Vegeta tells Raditz another little secret. He used this power to kill Frieza and King Cold. Raditz tells everyone around him they can't mess around. This is too much for them to handle. Goku did want a 1v1, and honestly Ruta did too. Same for Raditz. But the latter two are really cautious here, and that does kind of rub off on Goku. So together, the four of them are going to fight against Vegeta. Raditz is a bit reluctant to join, but Ruta basically drags him into the fight. Raditz isn't really sure if they could win. He does want to fight, he's not going to go down without a battle, but he's just frozen in fear at the fact that there's a Super Saiyan here, and it's someone trying to kill them. But as terrified as he is, he needs to save face. His sister's right. He needs to battle. Vegeta doesn't have perfect control over this form, not even close, but he can willingly transform into it, and while it is draining, he could still use it for a somewhat prolonged period. He hasn't really used it too much, although he has trained with it a bit, and he's confident in the abilities of this form. He fights all four of them at once. Even with Goku, Ruta, and Krillin using Kaioken, they can't really do much against him. Goku and Ruta even push Kaioken to times 20. Vegeta can sense their power significantly spike. Right now, Vegeta's base power is about 4 million, pushing him to 200 million in Super Saiyan. Goku and Ruta are at about 3 million each, and at Kaioken times 20, that's 60 million each. Raditz is at about 1 million, and Krillin's also at 1 million, but he can go into Kaioken times 10, and for very brief periods, Kaioken times 20. So even collectively at their peaks, they can't really contend with Vegeta. Vegeta can pick them off one by one to make this fight a little faster. He won't make the same mistake he did with Frieza. He's already had his fun and asserted his dominance. First he goes for Goku and Ruta, flying towards them at full speed, punching each of them in the gut. They're sent flying into a nearby cliffside. He turns to Raditz, but he's suddenly blinded. Krillin's nearby and uses a solar flare, and blindly Vegeta aims a large blast at him. It's not very powerful, but he fans it out so it could hit everything in the area. That's the only way he's going to hit Krillin while blind, and Krillin barely avoids this. Raditz then rushes in while Vegeta's blinded, hitting him with a brutal barrage of attacks, but they don't really do much against him. Vegeta's vision slowly comes back. He can barely see the outline of Raditz right now, but it's just enough to land an attack on him. With one arm he grabs Raditz's neck, and with the other he flattens his hand, piercing it right into Raditz's side, puncturing right through the same scar that Piccolo made. Vegeta then launches up into the air, throwing down random ki blasts to clear out the area, with everyone trying to duck for cover and Raditz not being able to take cover from this. And through the smoke, he could see Ruta and Goku coming towards him. He sends down another blast, immobilizing them. He then holds out a hand in front of him, charging a blast in front of it. This one much more potent than the last. Another new powerful move he's made, the Big Bang attack. He sends it flying down to Goku and Ruta. They can't move out of the way in time. But using the last of his stamina, Raditz runs in, basically tackling them out of the way, using his remaining power to push them, taking the full brunt of the Big Bang attack. The smoke clears and Raditz is left there barely alive in the crater, still bleeding out from Vegeta's previous attack. Goku and Ruta try to stand back up, and they hear Raditz saying something. He's come to like his siblings on this planet. He never expected it to be that way, but that's how it is. He is the weakest of the three though, and he'll catch up to them one day, but to do that, he knows he can't let them die here. So he tells them one thing: kill that bastard Vegeta for him. They sense his energy fade. Raditz is now dead. Krillin's not nearby and can't hear this, but he tries to attack Vegeta, sending a barrage of small ki Enzons flying at him. Vegeta can tell these are dangerous. They probably won't kill him outright, but they can probably cut into him, and Krillin's directing all of them at once. Vegeta's fast enough to dodge them, but then simply lets out a shout, causing all of them to dissipate. The Baldy's kind of annoying him, so he rockets down to the ground, aiming for Krillin. But right when he's about to reach Krillin, someone grabs onto his leg. Floating there behind him is Ruta, and then he turns to his other side as someone grabs his arm. It's Goku also floating there. This whole fight, they were trying to figure out what made Vegeta become a Super Saiyan because maybe they could do it too. But after witnessing Raditz die and almost seeing Krillin die, they figured out what it is. They felt power flaring up inside of them with those negative emotions. It must be some sort of trigger that was needed. It's unfortunate they had to find out this way, but with the geniuses they are, they're going to use it to their advantage, because they feel that power flaring up even further. Vegeta frees himself from their grasp, so they finally reach this level, but that's not going to stop him. The fight enters a new stage, and slowly they start to wear Vegeta down. The two of them together are enough to take him on. Ruta shows off one of her new attacks here. She flings a bunch of blue blast up into the sky. They swirl around above Vegeta, forming into a giant beam that then falls down on him. Basically her version of a Hellzone grenade, the Spirit Avalanche. And Goku takes the opportunity to launch his own attack, rushing towards Vegeta with a blast charge above his head, dunking it down on Vegeta from above, finishing the fight with 2 full power attacks. And seeing Raditz die got them both thinking. Ruta really didn't expect Raditz to change like that. Goku did, and he was really glad to see it. In the moment, it didn't even occur to them that they can just revive Raditz with the Dragon Balls. Raditz probably knew that, and that's why he sacrificed himself so easily, but still, he did put his life on the line for them. To think a Saiyan changed that much where he's acting like a real older brother here. So, what do they do with Vegeta now? He's defeated and he can't leave the planet. Krillin and Ruta think they should definitely kill Vegeta, although Goku's kind of torn. He gave Vegeta another chance, but he came back and killed Raditz. He didn't think Vegeta would become this dangerous. They had a fun battle, but is it really wise to spare him a second time? Even if Raditz can be brought back, Vegeta is just too far gone, and Ruta tries to convince Goku of this. He's still kind of reluctant, not as much as the last time, but he hesitates. And this annoys Vegeta. Just hearing them talk and act so weak. He'll make the decision easy for them. He lifts himself up. His aura surges once more, but this time surrounds him in a sphere. He'll use all of his power to self-destruct. He knows he's probably lost here, but this way, he'll take them down with him. If they're too weak-minded to kill him right now, then they'll all just die in the process. He's grown far too drunk on his power and can't accept the loss here. In his endeavor to destroy all of Frieza's army, and grow strong enough to kill Frieza too, he's gone more into his evil side, leading him down a self-destructive path. And this is where it's going to end. He wants to kill them, no matter what it takes. This isn't just about winning the fight anymore, it's just as much about destroying them. Vegeta charges his final explosion. Krillin throws a Kienzan, but it's simply destroyed by Vegeta's aura. Goku and Ruta are ready to defeat him, but they power down. They can't maintain Super Saiyan anymore, they're too worn out. They try attacking him, but Vegeta's aura wards them off. It's the last of his power, but it's still a lot of power. He slowly walks closer and closer to them. His aura expands out even further, evaporating everything around them. And now he's ready. Just as Vegeta detonates, everyone senses a power nearby. Vegeta then sees what just happened, but it's already too late. A beam of light pierces right through his chest, stopping the explosion and defusing the bomb that is Vegeta. Goku, Krillin, and Ruta turn their heads. Not too far away, they see a brilliant red glow. Piccolo's standing there, pointing his fingers out, with a smile on his face. His aim's gotten a lot better since he last tried this against Raditz. Plus, Kaioken really does help here. He kept a low profile, but he's been there most of the battle, charging this attack and waiting for the opportunity. With help from Kaioken, and the fact that Vegeta was heavily weakened here, this attack was able to kill him. Vegeta lets out his last words, reminding the Saiyans of their weakness. They had to team up to beat him. In the end, did they really win? And Kakarot hesitated. Sure, he did decide to kill Vegeta, but it was too little too late. Goku and Ruta looked down at Vegeta's body disappointed. They really didn't want to resort to this, but they knew they had no choice at this point. The two of them never met Frieza or knew much about him. They only heard stories from Raditz. But based on what Raditz told them, it seems like the same evil that consumed Frieza consumed Vegeta too. He continued the cycle of Frieza's terror, and that led to his demise. A truly self-destructive path, figuratively and literally. But they also do wonder about what Vegeta said. Are they actually weak? They beat him, but he's right. They all needed to team up. They couldn't do it one-on-one. Are they actually reaching their full potential? Not too long after, Raditz is brought back. Thankfully they are able to bring him back with the Dragon Balls, and it doesn't take too long. He then learns that his two siblings became Super Saiyans. That's cool, but it also means Raditz is farther behind them now. But he does take pride in the fact that he was the reason for them going Super Saiyan. He'll just need to work for it himself now. Time goes by and we don't have a time traveler like normal. Goku doesn't end up getting the heart virus here. We don't know the actual source of the heart virus, but usually in my videos, I always use the assumption that it's latent within Goku and he got it from how he lived as a kid, since he was kind of like a wild animal on his own. So because of that, he won't have it here because he always grew up around Gohan and with Ruta. He had a cleaner lifestyle as a kid. Not completely, but enough where he wouldn't get this, if that is the case. Training-wise, what's the next step? Well, for Raditz, he wants to get ahead of his siblings, but them becoming Super Saiyans is ground for celebration, so he takes them to his favorite dive bar that he frequents, and buys them some drinks. Everyone at the bar recognizes Raditz too. This is kind of surprising for Goku and Ruta. Is this what he does with his free time? Truth is, Raditz has been pursuing strength and only strength these past few years. He will go here occasionally, but otherwise he doesn't really do much. He's a big drinker, and he owns a motorcycle that he loves and cares for, but otherwise he's not really doing much else. He spent so much of his time trying to get ahead of them, and yes, he has bettered himself, but he needs to go even further. And even though Raditz is on their side by now, they were never really close enough with him to even see this side of him. This is a good thing in their eyes. The three of them are only going to grow closer, and Raditz is going to grow stronger. The two of them definitely have changed him. Inadvertently at first, but now pretty much purposefully. He'll just get the form for himself, and then surpass the two of them. Even though Vegeta's dead, Raditz is basically the de facto Vegeta here. Of course, his relationship with them is very different, but the three of them view each other as rivals. Part of that is their common goals of growing stronger. Pretty much right after Vegeta's defeat, everybody completely focused on training. Ruta and Krillin wanted to have a kid, but then they ran into Raditz and knew that they had to fight more, so that would have been irresponsible. Now with Vegeta dead and seemingly no more crazy threats, they both take some time off fighting and do this. So Goku spends most of his time training with Raditz because Ruta does take some time off. Piccolo joins them too, and even Gohan at some points. Raditz is really curious what he's capable of, and he wonders what the true strength of a hybrid Saiyan is like. It looks like Gohan won't be the only hybrid Saiyan either. I've noticed usually when I do a scenario by making a new kid character, they never really get to do much in the story because of when they're introduced, plus the fact that I need to get all the original art and such. So, Krillin and Ruta do have a kid here, but she's going to be kind of glossed over a bit for now without original art too, just because obviously she won't be too relevant in the story at the moment. At some point I'll show a design for her and she'll have some art too, and she will be doing more. So since Krillin and Marin's name are taken from the word chestnut, I'll just do the same here. We'll call her Casta, taken from the Italian word for chestnut. Pretty easy to remember, just Asta with a C in front of it. Although if the story goes into GT, she will be more relevant, so let me know if you're interested in continuation like that. I've only really done it like once before. So what happens with Raditz over this time skip? Does he really just train and do nothing else? Well, usually in my stories I just keep him as a bachelor. I don't really see anyone to pair him with, for the most part at least, and no, I'm not doing that one. But just to change things up, we'll do something different here and actually pair him with someone. Not right now, but you'll see what I mean. We already have one huge change with Krillin and Ruta, so we're going to balance it out with something else. You might think, well, why not pair Raditz with Bulma? I don't really see it happening. I would think, if anything, it's more likely that she ends up with Yamcha. That way we don't have to introduce a bunch of crazy ships, and it also means Yamcha was faithful here. He doesn't fumble this time. Even though there's no heart virus and no time traveler, that doesn't mean there's going to be no androids. They still show up, but since nothing was altered with the timelines, it goes as it should have. Androids 17 and 18 are the first ones to show up, attacking a city one day and causing a great chaos. The first one to arrive is Raditz. His bar is actually pretty close by. They do know who he is. They're actually looking for his siblings. So Raditz draws them out of the city and tries to raise his key so the others can sense him. Weirdly enough, he can't feel anything coming from these two. And he has no clue who they are either. He knows nothing about the Red Ribbon Army. Soon enough, Ruta, Krillin, Goku, and Piccolo show up. This is around the point when Ruta's actually fighting again, so she's here. Right now, Goku's the strongest of the three, with Ruta falling a little bit behind because of the time she took off, and she and Raditz are pretty much on equal footing right now. Krillin has a weird feeling that he should know who Android 18 is, and Ruta feels the same way about Android 17. Vice versa too. Anyways, Raditz is the first one to fight, fighting Android 18 in base. He tries to gauge her power, which is really tough when she has no energy to sense, but fighting her is the next best option, although she beats him pretty quickly. In base, at least. He gets back up. This makes him happy. He's gonna have an actual fight here. It's been a while. The last time they had a fight like this was against Vegeta. This should be an interesting battle. He pulls out a cigar to celebrate, holding up a finger to the cigar, lighting it as a golden aura surrounds it. That golden aura creeps up his arm, and with the cigar lit, Raditz places it in his mouth, taking a pretty strong pull from it, and when he lets it go, there's a big cloud of smoke and an aura around him. The bright aura around him blows the smoke away. Raditz is now a Super Saiyan. He's had this for quite some time now. His training with Piccolo and Goku has really helped out. And even though Ruta stepped away from fighting for a bit, Krillin did have to take some time off too, but he was training a bit with them, so he's seen this before. But he hasn't seen Raditz transform like this. He thinks that was a really cool entrance. And even Goku thinks it's creative. Ruta's just kind of tired of it. He's trying to be too flashy. Plus, that's the first time a Super Saiyan transformation smelled bad. His cheap cigar stunk it up. And he lets her know, this isn't a cheap cigar, it's one of the finest actually. It actually has some of the herbs that Roshi uses within it. As far as he knows, smoking this will keep him young forever. Although he's not exactly sure if that's how it works because apparently Roshi eats it, but it should be the same thing, right? Android 18 interrupts the bickering. Clearly they're not taking the android seriously. The fight between her and Raditz resumes. And she does really well too. For an Earthling, she's pretty powerful. By now, the other four have noticed the Red Ribbon Army logo, and Raditz doesn't realize that these two are androids. Since the Red Ribbon arc went so differently, Goku and Ruta don't actually realize this at first until they reveal it themselves. They just know these two are affiliated with the Red Ribbon Army. So she's not a regular Earthling. She stops holding back and takes the fight a little more seriously. She was only at about half strength there, and she's able to defeat Raditz single-handedly. While that fight was going on, Android 17 began his own fight with Goku. Their main targets were Goku and Ruta because they were the two who destroyed the army. Raditz is secondary, but he is their brother, so he kind of is a target as well. Same goes for Piccolo because he's an ally, and Krillin because he's married to one of them. Ruta goes Super Saiyan as well and fights Android 18. Piccolo joins in to help Goku, and Krillin joins in to help Ruta. The androids won't run out of stamina, and they actually are stronger than the two opponents they're facing respectively. Raditz probably shouldn't have taken on that fight alone, and he watches on. He just needs to catch his breath. The three of them also haven't mastered Super Saiyan yet. They could use it on command, and they have a really good control on it, but they are still all at Super Saiyan Grade 1. As Raditz is watching, he realizes that this is a losing battle, but he has an idea in the back of his mind. He's never really tried this out, but it might end up working if he really needs to do it, although it's really risky at the same time. It might not even work at all. But if it does work the way he plans, it might also be disastrous. The androids are clearly gaining ground. Android 18 then hits Krillin with a kick and sends him flying. He goes right back to where Raditz is. Raditz is powered back down into base trying to conserve energy, and he's trying to think of a plan. Krillin wonders why he hasn't jumped back in the battle yet. Is he really that injured and worn out? Raditz says now that he had some time to recover, he can jump back in the battle, but he actually was formulating a plan. It's a long shot, and he wants to get Krillin's opinion here since he can't ask anyone else. Raditz might not be the strongest of the group, but he views himself as a strategist, and Krillin is definitely the same way. So he asks him a simple yes or no question. Is this a life or death situation? Depending on Krillin's answer, that decides if Raditz should do something desperate or not. Krillin says he definitely thinks so, but why is Raditz asking that? It's because he'll need Krillin's help with this. He tells Krillin to help out with the aftermath. Okay, now Krillin's getting really worried. First, Raditz is asking a weird question, and now he's saying that there's going to be some sort of aftermath. He's going to have to explain further. Raditz then holds out a hand, charging a weird ball of energy in it. His power drops slightly, but not really significantly. It's been a while since he last did this, and given the huge amount of power he has now, it doesn't take as much strength this time. He tells Krillin this is an artificial moon. Once he activates this, he's going to transform into a Great Ape, and so will Goku and Ruta. The thing is, he knows his siblings have never gone Great Ape and controlled it. Raditz is the only one that can. He tells Krillin to make sure the other two don't look at the moon. Otherwise, they'll go on a rampage, and they won't be able to do anything. This form is actually way weaker than Super Saiyan. So, why is Raditz transforming into it? Shouldn't he just go Super Saiyan instead? Well, yeah, that's what Raditz plans to do. He's had a theory for a while, but never really tested it out. The Super Saiyan transformation and the Great Ape transformation are separate, and it makes him wonder if the two could be combined somehow. From what Raditz knows, Great Ape will just boost his strength tenfold. But if he combines that with the power of Super Saiyan, and it actually ends up working, he could become so strong that he'll defeat both the androids at once. It's a huge risk that could have a huge reward. He just needs Krillin to make sure Ruta and Goku are safe. And also, make sure the androids don't go after his tail. They probably don't know about that, but just in case. He wants to make sure it's protected. And he tells Krillin one more thing. Don't look at Raditz when he detransforms. He's gonna have to take his clothes off here because otherwise they're gonna be destroyed and he'll be completely naked. Another reason why he doesn't want Goku and Ruta transforming. He doesn't want to see that. Alright, Krillin looks away and notes that. He's not gonna look. Raditz throws the moon up in the air and then transforms into a Great Ape. Obviously the androids notice this, and so do Goku and Ruta. But Krillin flies over to them, telling them not to look. The two of them are pretty badly beaten, being held up by the androids, and then they're just dropped to the ground below. But they do what Krillin says, and they close their eyes. Piccolo and Krillin can at least look, and so can the androids. They actually don't have much info about that form that Raditz is using. But he's just a bigger target now, so it should be easy to fight him. They can't tell if he's stronger like this or as a Super Saiyan, but either way, they're not going to back down just because he's huge now. Then Raditz tries something new. He hasn't used Great Ape in so long, but now he tries to use Super Saiyan on top of it. And even with his control on Great Ape, he can't handle this. He actually is able to transform. His fur turns golden. And it's really stressful and takes a lot of focus, but it ends up working. He becomes something completely new, a golden Great Ape. Goku and Ruta can't look, but they can sense what's happening, with Piccolo and Krillin explaining to them. The androids try and attack him, but they can't do anything. He's rampaging, so he can't control his attacks, but he's also not injured by them at all. And when he fights back, these attacks are really devastating, especially with them being uncontrolled. Basically, with a single punch, he takes both of them out at once, getting both of them with his fist and then slamming them into the ground, knocking them unconscious pretty much immediately. Raditz then starts rampaging in place. Krillin quickly creates a Kienzan, activates Kaioken to fly over to Raditz and get a blind spot, and then catches him off guard and cuts his tail off, apologizing as he does so. Raditz then detransforms, going back to his base form, and he's also naked. Krillin looks away, but brings Raditz his clothes. He's unconscious on the ground now, and he wakes up next to his clothes, and a senzu bean right next to him. He takes it, and he's instantly healed, and his tail does grow back. Krillin actually didn't know if Raditz's tail was going to grow back or not, but basically as an apology for cutting his tail off, this way he does it instantly. And it's good he did it here because otherwise Raditz wouldn't have grown it back. The wound was fresh, so the Sensubin regenerated it. Raditz gets up and clothes himself, and then reunites with his group. They still can't believe what they just saw. Like, that was pretty insane. Goku and Ruta, of course, want to get this for themselves too, but Raditz explains what it was like. He completely lost all sort of reasoning there. He went on an insane rampage. He could feel the power coursing through him, but he couldn't control any of it. He didn't even really know what was going on, which is why he was unconscious when he detransformed. And it's a good thing he took his clothes off because he didn't want to destroy his favorite jacket and his favorite chain. That's besides the point. Towards the end, though, he felt a weird change within himself too. Almost like he gained some sort of sense of self back, but not fully. Now he sees how incredibly risky this is, but he sees that it does work too. And it makes him wonder, can he combine the power of these two and actually master it, completely controlling it too? Because look at how powerful that just was. He could go even further. He knows what he must do now. The androids are still alive, but they're in pretty bad condition. They won't die, they're just not going to be able to fight right now. Raditz's power was absurd, but he was still uncontrolled and didn't finish it. He just hit them with a single attack. So he walks over to the fist-shaped crater that they're stuck in right now. He tells them he'll pay it forward and spare them. Honestly, he wishes he had a say in Vegeta's situation when he died before, but he couldn't really do anything there, nor could Goku and Ruta. But Goku and Ruta did spare him, and maybe he needs to learn how to not be so brutal, especially after what he just did in that form. Maybe this is a step in the right direction, but he has no clue. Maybe Vegeta did deserve what came to him, but Raditz wonders if he could have been redeemed. It's a shame he decided to take himself out with everyone else. Had he gone down some sort of different path, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe he would have just been defeated and taken it. But it seems he became way too obsessed and way too prideful, and he couldn't accept an embarrassing loss a second time. He lets the androids go. Maybe he'll see Vegeta again someday, but as for the androids, he'll give them another shot at living. If they fight again, it's just going to be a repeat of Vegeta, and with whatever power he gains next, they will be stopped. And of course, after seeing that power, Goku and Ruta want to go for it too. Raditz asks Krillin if he has another Sensubin, and he has a few left. He takes one, splits it in half, and gives one piece to each of the androids. He tells them to do with that info what they must. But just know if they waste this gift from Raditz, next time he will kill them for good. Goku and Ruta clearly see Raditz has grown in power, but more so in terms of how he is as a person now. It makes Goku pretty happy. He would be happy about this regardless, but especially because he wanted to spare Raditz, and the fact that he actually was redeemed, it's nice. While Saiyans aren't close with their family, Goku's glad that he, Ruta, and Raditz have a great relationship. They're all basically friends with each other, and rivals at the same time. Now we enter the time skip before the Buu Saga, and a lot of stuff does happen here. For one, obviously the cast is different, so things are going to change a lot. Mostly because of that. Goku and Chi-Chi do have Goten, and I think Yamcha and Bulma might have a kid, probably still named Trunks as well because Bulma picked the name, although he's going to be fully human. As for Casa, she still isn't really going to be relevant here, but we will cover a little bit of what she does. She's kind of like a sister to Gohan and Goten. As for the actual trio of siblings, they all master Super Saiyan on their own at some point, with Gohan also following suit at some point. Of course, this means down the road, they unlock Super Saiyan 2 as well, but they're aiming way beyond that too. Right now, everyone is pretty much an even playing field. Goku, Ruta, and Raditz are equal by all accounts. But then, things start to shift in their training. After what Raditz did against the androids, Ruta and Goku decided that they're going to try and learn Grade 8 for themselves because they never did get control in it. They still have their tails, and they could transform if they wanted, but there wasn't really a point up until now. It seems like Grade 8 actually is useful. So, they work on that. But they're not just solely training. They of course have their own lives. Goku did just have a new kid, and Ruta has her own to take care of as well. But they meet up a lot for training, which is nice because there was that period in time where Ruta didn't actually see Goku for a few years. And this was right before Raditz showed up as well. They hadn't seen him for decades. Now the three are pretty close, and they train a lot together. At one point during their training, something unexpected happens. The three of them are all sparring. But someone shows up and then yells out to Raditz. Goku and Ruta are immediately on guard because the person there is Android 18, and they're ready to fight her. They haven't seen the androids in a while. It seems like they've just been doing their own thing and not causing trouble, but maybe now they're trying to strike. Why is she alone though? And why now? And why is she specifically yelling out for Raditz? Raditz actually doesn't seem fazed by this at all. While Goku and Ruta are ready to fight, Android 18 just calls Raditz an idiot. He never even told them, did he? Told them what? Oh yeah, he did forget. Raditz tells the two of them that they're dating now. Wait, him and Android 18? Who tried to kill them not too long ago? Well yeah, Raditz realized they have a lot in common. And not to mention, when Raditz first met Goku and Ruta, he did try to kill them too. That applies to a lot of their friends actually. Anyways, Raditz actually ran into Android 18 at a bar he usually was at. The two androids were sort of outlaws now and just did their own thing. Android 17 went off to an island on his own while Android 18 stayed pretty much in the mainland. She didn't even realize Raditz was at this place. And when the two ran into each other, it almost did break out into a fight, but of course they couldn't do that right in the bar. Raditz assumed that she was coming after him, but also he was a bit buzzed, so he was ready for a fight. But with him also being buzzed, he was a little bit more easygoing and a little flirtatious. Surprisingly, it panned out. According to her, Raditz is actually really charming when he's drunk. That's weird because when Goku and Ruta see him drinking, he's just kind of a brute. And a little stupid, but maybe that's just with them. If I had a nickel for every time Android 17 became Raditz's brother-in-law in a What If, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. But yeah, that's the thing now. And I think some point later on in the time skip they would get married. And that's the other pairing I was talking about. I mean, Krillin's taken, so these two end up getting together. Pretty much purely by chance. Goten and Kasta start training under Goku. As for Gohan, he did spend a lot of time training with Goku, Ruta, and Raditz. Raditz especially wants to see how far Hybrid Saiyan could go. But Gohan of course has kept up with his studying too, so he has that nice balance now. He ends up going to school like normal, and a lot of the Saiyaman stuff happens pretty much like normal too. Krillin and Ruta have actually been living at Kame House this entire time. Unlike Goku, who basically lived off Ox King, the two need jobs now. And they want to get their own place instead of living at Kame House. Raditz actually ended up building his own home, and he became a carpenter on the side because he got some good money for it, and he was really good at what he does, especially with his speed and strength. He'd be doing small tasks, but also big ones like building entire buildings. And when Krillin and Ruta move out, he offers to build them a place for free. Well, they pay for materials. He'll just assemble them for free. Ruta's not really too sure, but Raditz ends up doing it, and he does it within a day. And it ends up being a really nice house too. Ruta didn't really know what to think of it at first, but the build quality is actually amazing. Krillin can't believe it. Raditz is surprisingly a master of his craft and really creative. Seems like there's more about him they don't really know. Speaking of Krillin, what's been up with him? He never stopped training, but to make some money, he probably would become a cop like normal. As for Ruta, she doesn't really end up getting a job because by chance she found out about the 24th World Tournament, and she expected Goku and Raditz to show up, but neither seemed to know, which she feels kind of bad about. She should have told them, but she guesses she was the only one who kept up with the info about it. And it's not really too fun because she basically breezes her way through everything, except for the final match, where she's up against Mr. Satan. Mr. Satan offers to pay her to take the fall for this fight, so she ends up doing that. There's no point in winning this tournament anyways. Besides the money, which she didn't even realize before. She really lucked out here because she got the second place prize, as well as a portion of the first place prize that Mr. Satan had, which makes her a Zenny millionaire. Mr. Satan gets to have his cake and eat it too, and he becomes the world champ and becomes famous. So the two of them live a pretty comfortable life right now. Ruta wonders why Chi-Chi never fights though. It never really came to mind, but the more their kids interact, the more she sees Chi-Chi. She remembers Chi-Chi was a fighter her whole life, and Chi-Chi still is relatively strong, especially by human standards, but she just doesn't train herself anymore because she's focused on family. She actually does spar with Goku and her kids occasionally too, weirdly enough. Ruta didn't even realize that. It's not often, but still, more than none. While she's fine with Goku training the kids here and there, as long as they keep up with their studying, that's really all that matters to her. And it makes Ruta wonder. She's been pretty much the opposite. She's been like Goku. Funny enough, Krillin ends up being the more strict parent. She needs to ensure that her kid can grow up like Gohan, both being strong and being smart, succeeding at school and at fighting. Because despite all his weird experiences, Gohan turned out to be normal. Well, relatively normal. He's still half alien after all. And he's also freakishly powerful. Speaking of powerful, at some point during their training, Raditz does try to use the Golden Grade Ape form again. He waited until Ruta and Goku were able to use Super Saiyan 2, because he needed a little bit more firepower to assure that this could be stopped in case he does rampage. The three of them have Super Saiyan 2 by this point, so now is the best time. Once more, he creates an artificial moon, throws it up in the air, and transforms. With perfect control of Great Ape, he then goes Super Saiyan, taking on the same form as before, and he tries to maintain it. This time he doesn't instantly rampage, but he still loses himself a bit, although at some point he stops. While he's a Great Ape, he's conscious and in control. Second time's the charm, it seems. He remembers the last time he did it, he almost gained control, but Krillin stopped it at the last moment, which was probably the best option because Raditz didn't know if he ever would have gained control. This time around though, he does gain control. And the moment he does, weirdly enough, he starts to shrink down. But he retains all the power that he had. Ruta and Goku are confused because he just de-transformed out of nowhere. But then they get a better look at Raditz and see, he didn't de-transform. He transformed. Like, he changed again. At first, Raditz didn't even realize what happened, but he feels the power coursing through him still, and he looks down at his arm. He freaks out a bit. There's all red fur on it. Why is he furry? As far as he can tell, he's a humanoid again, but that doesn't make sense. Goku and Ruta need him to get a better look. Inadvertently, Raditz did unlock a new form. He aimed to control Golden Great Ape, and he did, but the result was different than he expected. Of course, this form is Super Saiyan 4, and we're going to call it Super Saiyan 4 because that's what it is. But it is worth noting that they wouldn't call it Super Saiyan 4. Maybe they would simply call it Great Ape Super Saiyan or even Super Saiyan 3 because they don't have Super Saiyan 3 yet. So for the rest of this What If, we'll refer to it as Super Saiyan 4, but just know that they probably wouldn't know what that is. And he's elated. He got what he wanted and then some. This also makes him the strongest of the three. It's partially because he had control of Great Ape prior to them, so he pulled this off easier than they could. It's still going to take a bit of work for the other two, but they of course still can do it, just not right now. Now we reach the end of the time skip when the tournament starts. Just as another side note, Cass is in the junior division, and I still don't have art of her because she won't really be too relevant in this part, although she'll have a design once we go into Super. The final of the junior division ends up being her versus Goten, and she ends up winning. As for the main tournament, Spopovich and Yamu are of course there, and same for Shin and Kibito. Their target is actually Goku this time, hoping to take his power or at least enrage Raditz and Ruta and take their power. So Goku ends up facing Kibito, and pretty much everything that happened with Gohan happens with him. Also, this is nice for Videl because she doesn't have to fight Spopovich. Anyways, once Spopovich and Yamu depart, the three siblings, the two Kais, as well as Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo leave. It's a pretty big group going to stop Babidi. Shin and Kibito explain everything along the way as well. Of course, right when they get to his ship, they immediately encounter Dabura. Instead of remaining covert, Raditz thinks they should just head right in, which is really unlike him because he's usually the strategist, but in his eyes, he thinks they should stop this before it even starts. If they already got energy from Goku, they should prevent Babidi from being able to use it. They are spotted pretty much immediately though, and Ruta is the one who ends up fighting Dabura. It's a pretty short-lived fight, especially with Shin telling her to make it short, but Babidi gets a little bit of energy from that fight as well. As they get closer, Babidi starts panicking. He only has about 70% of the necessary energy, so he tries to possess someone. His main target's Raditz because he seems the most likely to be possessed. Piccolo's there too as an option, but both have no reason to fall under his spell. They could resist it by default, and they're not going to have any reason to give in. Raditz isn't going to make it easy for Babidi. In an act of desperation, as Raditz enters the ship, Babidi sends all of his remaining minions after him, trying to restrain him, and Babidi is able to steal a little bit of energy from him. Raditz breaks free, killing the rest of them, but Babidi ends up escaping. And you know, Raditz still isn't too concerned. He welcomes Babidi to use that energy. Go ahead, revive Boo. He already has the energy anyways. Raditz won't just stop him, he'll shatter his pride completely. Babidi buys none of this, and Shin and Kibito tell him to not be so reckless. Even though it's not his fault, he shouldn't get too overconfident. Raditz says he's not overconfident. There's just no way that this Majin Buu creature will be able to defeat him. That sounds like overconfidence to them, but Goku and Ruta assure the two Kais that Raditz is right. Right now he's the strongest of the three of them by a large margin, and they haven't even seen a fraction of Raditz's full power yet. With the remaining energy, Babidi is able to revive Buu. Raditz wishes this could have been avoided, but he's not really too concerned. And for what it's worth, Raditz is actually the strongest here now. The two others are close to unlocking Super Saiyan 4, but they just haven't got it yet for the reasons I explained before. But after unlocking Super Saiyan 4 for himself, Raditz's power skyrocketed in training. In terms of the hierarchy, Raditz is the strongest, with Goku, Ruta, and Gohan being pretty much on equal footing behind him. Then there's another gap with Krillin and Piccolo being equal. Thanks to Gohan's potential and the fact that he trains more than usual, he's not stronger than everyone else here, but he's on par with them, which is a pretty huge feat considering how strong they are. But the three siblings definitely have better experience than him. Anyways, Buu's revived. Goku's energy helped out, and of course Raditz's did too. And Raditz asks his siblings if he can fight alone. He really wants to test this form out, and the best thing he could do is a 1v1. Shin and Kibito are confused. Can't they just transform into Super Saiyan 1 and 2? Nope, they actually have 3 other forms. Great Ape, Golden Great Ape, and then something even beyond that. Without even turning into a Great Ape, Raditz then starts to transform, showing off Super Saiyan 4 to Babidi and Buu. He doesn't have perfect control on this, it's fleeting right now, but he can still grow further and make this perfect. But more importantly, he could use this to fight Buu. Judging by Buu's power, Raditz is definitely the stronger one here. He dashes towards Buu, completely vanishing from sight, too fast for anyone else to even see. Buu himself has trouble keeping up as well. He lands a punch directly on Buu, and then follows up with a combo of attacks, actually taken from Goku. It's a meteor combination. His attacks have so much power behind them that they destroy Buu's body as he fights. He keeps regenerating, but Raditz keeps countering it, just getting a feel for how strong this guy really is. While this fight goes on, Goku decides to target Babidi. He tries to defend against Goku, but Goku's attack is so strong that it just cuts through his barrier, and Babidi's one-shot. Ruta, Krillin, Piccolo, and Gohan watch from the sidelines. They didn't think they'd be needed in this fight, they really just wanted to see Raditz fight. He makes pretty quick work with Buu and finishes him off with his ultimate move. First, Raditz holds both hands out to each side of him. Energy swirls in each of his palms. One red and one purple. He then moves his arms in a circular motion, bringing them together, then coupling them in front of him like a Kamehameha. And with pretty much no other build-up, the blast immediately explodes out of his palms, with enough recoil to even throw him back. It's a swirling purple beam surrounded by red lightning. He calls this Fortnite. Yes, I used this name before, I like the name, I'm using it again. It's also kind of funny, you know, Fortnite. Of course I'm going to use it. Buu is killed by Fortnite. Completely decimated, there's no part of him left. Raditz then powers down. That was a pretty fun battle. Buu was a weaker opponent, but still, he actually gave him somewhat of a challenge. Any other opponent would have just died instantly if he wasn't holding back, and he wasn't holding back there. He was hoping Buu would be a bit more durable, but that's the closest thing to a full power battle that he had in a while, and the biggest challenge he's faced in a while too. Ruta and Goku really need to reach that level soon, and they hope Gohan joins them with that. That form is pretty cool, but it's kind of freaky. But yeah, maybe he can pursue it. As this fight happens, the tournament did continue, going into a battle royale. Android 18 did participate in the tournament too. And once more, Mr. Satan takes first place by paying off somebody else. Android 18 gets second place, but she gets a nice payday from Mr. Satan. So, Raditz comes back to the tournament, hearing that the two of them got some prize money. What a great day this is for him. He's at his peak in terms of power, he just defeated an incredibly powerful opponent, and his wife just won a bunch of money. This is amazing. Not long after the Buu Saga, Beerus eventually arrives on Earth. I feel like there would still be some sort of time in between, but not as long as normal. Maybe Oracle Fish tells him to wake up a bit sooner. Beerus doesn't know exactly who he's looking for, but he knows what he's looking for, a Super Saiyan God, and that of course brings him to Earth. Naturally, he ends up meeting Goku, Ruta, and Raditz. They're not the only Saiyans on this planet, but they are the 3 pure Saiyans here. Raditz actually does know a bit about Beerus, mainly anecdotal stuff from Vegeta. He never actually saw Beerus in person, but he knows that he's real, and clearly he's standing in front of him right now. He can't imagine how strong he truly must be, the god of destruction, here in their presence, and he's looking to fight them. Raditz isn't really too sure what they're going to be capable of here. So right off the bat, they don't know about any Super Saiyan God. Beerus, of course, wants to see what power they're capable of, so they show it, even without having the Super Saiyan God form. Together, they all transform into Super Saiyan 4. By now, Goku and Ruta have access to it, and they can actually control it pretty well. This is their current peak, and Beerus is pretty impressed. He's never seen Saiyans do something like this. Actually, he's never seen Saiyans this powerful in the first place. They're usually much weaker. He gets to see their other forms as well, but previously he only had heard of Super Saiyan because apparently that's what Vegeta got in order to defeat Frieza, and these 3 ended up defeating Vegeta. So it does make him curious. Super Saiyan 4 is very impressive, and when the 3 of them fight together, Beerus actually does have to try a little bit. Just very little though. It's enough for him to stay intrigued, but not enough to give him what he really wanted. By mortal standards, sure, they're powerful, but they're not exactly what he's looking for. He knows that he can get something greater, but Raditz has a good idea. Why not ask that dragon? Surely he should have some sort of answers about Super Saiyan God, so they gather the Dragon Balls and ask about it, learning that there's a ritual involved and it's a transformation that they could obtain. They do have enough people for the ritual, and when it's done, they choose Goku as the target for it. He becomes the very first Super Saiyan God. And even after just unlocking Super Saiyan 4, he can't believe how strong this form is. It's kind of a shame because they worked really hard to obtain Super Saiyan 4, and now they just surpass it by doing this, which also isn't really satisfying either because it's a ritual. He didn't gain this power on his own, he feels. But Beerus assures him that he'll make that power his own, and it'll feel earned. Raditz and Ruta watch on from the sidelines, of course curious about getting that power for themselves, but Goku's already thinking many steps ahead. Can he reuse Super Saiyan 4 somehow? Or at least use the principles from it, because they combined Super Saiyan with Great Ape, so what about Super Saiyan with Super Saiyan God? Or Super Saiyan 4 with Super Saiyan God? Something like that. He already has a ton of ideas, but doesn't really know what to do with them. One thing he does know for sure is that this power is great, and he's in a completely different realm of power now. He has no clue where he'll be in a few months or even a few years from now, but he knows to expect a significant jump soon. Beerus is pleased and departs. Eventually, the 3 of them do go to Beerus' planet in order to train under him. He wants to see all of them become Super Saiyan Gods because, first of all, 3 of them training together will mean Goku grows stronger, so even if all 3 of them don't become Super Saiyan Gods, at least the one who is a Super Saiyan God will get a lot stronger. But if all 3 of them do become Super Saiyan Gods, he can see which one's the strongest, and that person will be his rival. Clearly they motivated each other on Earth while training there, so why not use them to motivate each other here as well? Krillin's a little bit bummed because first of all his wife is leaving, but he's fine with it. He wants her to grow stronger, and this is what she wants, so he's not going to stop her. He's just kind of bummed that he's going to miss her for a bit. But he assures Ruta, as well as Goku and Raditz, that he's going to grow a lot stronger. He's already the strongest Earthling, and he's going to catch up to them somehow, some way. No matter what it takes, by the time they come back, he'll be a warrior that's on par with them. Whether they're gods or not, he'll get to the same level. And he looks forward to see what they'll be capable of once they go to Beerus' planet. Goten and Kasa are training a lot under Piccolo, and they work under Gohan a lot as well. But Piccolo also has the same motivation. He wants to go beyond where he is right now. He and Krillin have a similar goal, so they might as well work together, especially because they're the 2 strongest people left behind. Well, besides Gohan. Gohan is very busy now because first of all he's starting a family, and now he has his dream career. But he has that balance between work and life that he needs, thanks to having a lot of guidance from his family. Goku never dying in this scenario, plus the fact that Ruta and Raditz are around, that really did help Gohan. And he's where he needs to be right now. He, Piccolo, and Krillin start training together. Gohan doesn't join every time they train, but he joins enough to actually help. They come to learn that under the guidance of Raditz, Ruta, and of course Goku, Gohan also obtains Super Saiyan 4 for himself. He finds the form kinda strange to use given how much it changes his appearance, but it still is pretty powerful and interesting. Weirdly enough, Krillin likes the form on Ruta, although he's not going to say this in front of his nephew. But Gohan also wonders to himself, what would Videl think if she saw this? Because she hasn't seen it. Would she hate it? Would she love it? He'll find out eventually. Krillin kind of has an idea of what he must do, but he wonders what Piccolo's going to do, so he asks. Piccolo isn't entirely sure, but he does have a few ideas. He really wanted to work under the Kais and see what they were capable of. He didn't really get to know much about them during the Buu Saga, and maybe he can go there. But at the same time, he kind of has an idea of what he needs to do next. There's one thing that's kind of overdue by now. By this point, he's definitely accepted himself and knows that he should probably merge back with Kami. The two need to combine to create the whole again. Kami agrees as well, so once Piccolo visits him, the two of them merge. But not before Kami wishes to transfer his powers to Piccolo, because when they fuse, there's going to be no Dragon Balls. Thankfully, unlike the Cell Saga and canon, they have time to do that here. The Earth isn't at risk right now, so they could actually do this. They could use the Dragon Balls for this. But also unlike the Cell Saga, they don't have instant access to Namek. They can't just teleport there at a whim and pick up Dende. They've never been there, and they can't get there. By now, Piccolo definitely knows about his origins, and same for Kami. This is mostly thanks to Raditz telling him. Point being, this is really their only option to keep the Dragon Balls, and Piccolo's fine with it. He'll become the new de facto Guardian of Earth, while also merging back with Kami like he should. But on top of that, he also does plan on going to the Supreme Kai to train. He grows a really strong rivalry with Krillin now, and the two get way closer than they were before. At some point, thanks to him being Guardian of Earth, Piccolo finds a way to get in contact with the Supreme Kai and ask if they could train under him. Shin is very welcoming of this, so Piccolo and Krillin both travel to the sacred world of Kais. Gohan stays back because he's getting busier and busier, and even though he does have that balance between work and training, he can't just up and leave. Weirdly enough, he asks how Krillin can do this, but he's taking a brief sabbatical. Casta's actually fine too. We'll be seeing more of her in a bit, but for now, this part isn't really focused on her. Expect her in the next part though. She was born in age 764, and with Battle of Gods happening a bit earlier, we're in age 776. The reason I waited so long to get a design for her is because, well, she's about to hit the growth spurt anyways, so if I had a design before, I would have had to replace it right now regardless. Although, just for reference, she can go Super Saiyan and just recently learned how to go Super Saiyan 2. Krillin is actually kind of hesitant to leave, but she actually encourages him. For the time being, she's just going to stay with Chi-Chi and Ox King. She spends a lot of time over that place anyways, and Chi-Chi is glad to look after her. Krillin doesn't plan on being gone long anyways, probably about a month. He does have to get back to work eventually. But Piccolo plans to spend as much time there as possible. They do train there for a bit and grow really powerful. Krillin gets a much better grasp on Kaioken. He doesn't have a transformation to call his own, but he has this technique which is really nice. He doesn't even know the limit of it anymore. He simply calls it Max Kaioken and just maxes out wherever he can. Because pretty much each time he uses it, he finds a new multiplier, but it only goes up a little bit each time. Last he checked, he capped out at times 50, and he's trying to get to 100 next. Although there's a pretty huge development on this planet because they train with the Z-Sword and they accidentally end up breaking it too, which releases Elder Kai. This ends up being a really good thing though because he's able to unlock their potential, and much to his surprise, the two of them have a ton of potential. He's been sealed away for so long that he doesn't really know much about Earth, at least the modern Earthlings, but Shin and Kibito could tell that Krillin is really strong by Earthling standards, and Elder Kai senses a lot of potential locked away. Same for Piccolo too. Merging with Kami really helped him, but there's a lot of strength locked away there. The two have their power awakened, and now they have their ultimate forms. Now we skip forward a few years. Resurrection F doesn't happen. First of all, there's not really anything left of Frieza's army thanks to Vegeta, and even if there were any of them left, they don't know about Earth's Dragon Balls, and they don't really have a reason to attack it regardless, besides maybe Raditz, but their grudge would be with Vegeta. Point being, there's not even an army here to revive Frieza, and not much knowledge of how to bring him back in the first place. By now on Beerus' planet, Raditz and Ruta have access to Super Saiyan God. Goku and Ruta didn't get Super Saiyan 4 until recently, and now it's already surpassed, so they really want to figure out what the next step for that is. Raditz tells them it still has its uses. First of all, Gohan's making good use of it, and maybe Casta's next to use it. He hasn't had a kid with Android 18 yet, but if they ever decide to, he's definitely going to make sure that kid gets Super Saiyan 4 right away. He wouldn't even be surprised if Goten got it eventually. Goku does think that would be really nice, of course. Especially with Gohan already having it, it's not really out of the picture. But it's not just that. Raditz asked them to remember, they thought Great Ape lost its use so long ago, but they figured out it still had a ton of use, so just like they found a purpose for Great Ape, they could probably do the same thing with Super Saiyan 4. But for now they should focus on Super Saiyan God, and the other form they just unlocked, Super Saiyan Blue. Super Saiyan 4 inspired them because they combined Super Saiyan with Great Ape, so they tried to do that with Super Saiyan God instead, and it ended up working out. They'll train this to its limits, and once they feel like they've plateaued, maybe they could explore new options for Super Saiyan 4 or some other form beyond Blue, if there even is one. Although, Whis of course is trying to push them in another direction. Goku definitely seems like the one who's most likely to unlock Ultra Instinct for himself. Ruta too, she's a really good martial artist and she definitely has the mindset, but he's not really sure what to do with Raditz. He's of course a great warrior and still a decent martial artist, but Whis isn't sure if he has the mindset for Ultra Instinct. Maybe he should go down a somewhat different path. And Beerus takes note of this too, thinking the same exact thing. Soon enough, the Universe 6 tournament rolls around. There's a little bit of training beforehand to catch up, but the team is pretty simple. It's Goku, Raditz, Ruta, Piccolo, and Krillin. They want a Gohan on the team, but he's busy at the moment. He's still powerful and has kept up with his training, but Goku is really looking forward to see what type of power he's capable of. Looks like he needs to visit Earth more because, had he done that, he would have already experienced that by now. But it's fine, he wants to see Piccolo and Krillin's power too. Raditz is especially curious because Gohan's the first hybrid Saiyan with Super Saiyan 4 and also the most experienced hybrid Saiyan here, so he's always wondered what he's truly capable of. Same goes for Goten and Kasta, but mostly Gohan right now. The tournament begins and Krillin's up first. Time to show them what he's been up to. Pretty much immediately he powers up into Ultimate. Not much changes about him. He gets a white aura, and weirdly enough the dots on his head start to glow. But physically there's no other changes. He hits Batamo with a single punch. It stretches him out completely, sending him flying out of the ring. With one attack, Universe 6 has already lost a fighter. That is impressive. Beerus thinks it might be a fluke, but he's interested to see what this Earthling is capable of. Next he's up against Frost. Raditz freaks out a bit seeing him because he looks really similar to Frieza, but the others only know anecdotal stuff about Frieza. Once again thanks to Raditz. They have no reason to suspect anything weird of Frost, especially Krillin, who doesn't even know this guy looks like Frieza, but at the same time he has no reason to let Frost power up either. Krillin enjoys his fights, but he's a lot more tactical and focused. He'd rather just win instead of enjoying the battle. Once more, with basically a single attack, he sends Frost out of the ring. And he does this with a Ki Blast, so Frost doesn't even poison him. Frost has to keep a cool head, but he's of course really angry. That was humiliating. And he didn't get to use his trump card. Against Megetta, Krillin learns of his weakness and easily insults him. Then against Kaba, he expects him to go Super Saiyan, but he doesn't. Krillin's pretty interested to see another Saiyan, especially with him being so kind. Although, to be fair, the 3 Saiyans that Krillin knows most are really nice. He did see what Raditz was like before. But his best friend is a Saiyan, his wife is a Saiyan, and his brother-in-law is a Saiyan. He does know about their history, and it's just interesting to see how different they are in Universe 6, particularly after what happened with Vegeta and Nappa. Watching on from the stands makes Raditz wonder, what would Vegeta think seeing that? He probably would have gotten a kick out of it. Even after all this time, Vegeta is still in Raditz's mind, mostly in passing though. Krillin easily beats Kaba, and then next he's up against Hit, which really is an issue. Krillin has a strategy, but he can't do anything. The gap in power is too huge. But he figures out exactly what Hit's doing and tells the next person, that being Piccolo. They decided Piccolo would go next so they could see what he's capable of. When Krillin's back in the stands, they tell him they're really impressed. He's strong, and it's amazing what he's been capable of. But he tells them to watch closely with Piccolo. He's gained something really strange, and even though Krillin's powerful, Piccolo's on a new level in comparison. Raditz wonders if Piccolo could really handle this fight, but Krillin assures him he can. Based on sparring with them beforehand, Krillin thinks he's above their Super Saiyan 4 forms, and maybe even close to their Super Saiyan God forms, but Piccolo is even ahead of him. His ultimate form had an extra stage apparently, which he only discovered through intense training and meditation. Plus, he utilized the time chamber a lot, and was on the Sacred World of Kais for far longer. Against Hit, he starts to grow in size. His aura grows far more intense. That yellowish ultimate form he has changes into something completely new. This is what Elder Kai was telling him was locked away, and he showcases his brand new form, Orange Piccolo. The form looks awesome, but they're not really impressed with the name. Ruta's not too surprised he went with a really basic one. Krillin says he tried to come up with something cooler, but hey, at least this one's pretty straightforward. And this is what Krillin meant. He's been training with Piccolo. He's seen this form, and it's pretty insane. Raditz goes berserk and cheers. He wanted to fight, and it looks like Piccolo's going to finish this off, but it's awesome. He's really glad to see that he's grown this strong. Plus, he's also had some drinks at the concession stands, and 18 tells him to chill out. Raditz apologizes, but he's just really happy right now. This gets his blood pumping, and it gets the scar on him to start hurting again, the same place where Piccolo injured him before. Not only is Krillin stronger, but Piccolo is too, another strong warrior they could fight with. Piccolo doesn't outright overpower Hit, but when Kami transferred his powers, Piccolo grew in other ways too. Also, thanks to Kai training, he did learn to control magic way better than Kami ever did. One thing he tries out here is combining magic with his Namekian regeneration. He adapts quickly to the battle, but also could heal himself really efficiently too. It seems like he just can't be hurt. First, he multiplies himself. 2 of the clones of Piccolo start to paralyze Hit, and 2 of the others attack him. With time skip, Hit tries to fend them off, but it's a bit tough, especially while holding back, because he can't kill them. But then a 5th Piccolo jumps him. It's the main Piccolo. He didn't see this attack coming because somehow, Piccolo completely hid his presence and used the other 4 Piccolos as distractions. The stage then explodes, with Piccolo telekinetically lifting up all the pieces. He swirls them around and tries to obscure Hit's vision. Piccolo finishes the battle by growing giant and swatting Hit out of the sky. It doesn't increase his power, but it makes for a really good bluff, and it makes it easier for him to swat Hit. Hit's not really injured by any of this, but once he lands on the ground, he's not in the ring. There's nothing left of the ring to begin with, but even if there were, he wouldn't be in it. Piccolo beat him with strategy, not power. Goku really wishes he got to fight, and same for Ruta, but they're really happy with what they saw. Krillin and Piccolo have grown a lot stronger, and they're only going to grow further in the future. Who knows, maybe even Krillin will get his own form, but that remains to be seen. The lack of a time traveler in this scenario means that there's no Zamasu stuff. Would he still hate mortals? Probably, but at least he wouldn't be pushed to enact the Zero Mortals plan. At least not just yet. The trio of siblings continues their training on Beerus' planet. We didn't get to see their power in the Universe 6 tournament, so what's up with them? Well, for one, Goku and Ruta both have Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. They didn't get to show it off just yet, but they definitely have it by this point. Especially with two minds working together instead of one, they would definitely figure out a way to do this. Raditz is actually the strongest in terms of his base form, but Goku and Ruta have higher peaks with Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. It's kind of crazy how quickly it turned around with Raditz. These two have been a great influence on him, and that kind of put him ahead for the rest of the time. Although the gap isn't too significant. It's pretty small, but noticeable enough for Raditz to consider himself the strongest, at least when he's not transformed. Goku and Ruta have higher peaks with Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, so at their full powers, they are stronger. And the two keep swapping around. One moment Goku's stronger, and another moment Ruta's stronger. They both max out at Kaioken times 20 with Super Saiyan Blue, but in terms of their power in Super Saiyan Blue, that's what they measure it based on. They do want to make Super Saiyan 4 more effective again, but they're not really too sure how. They keep that in the back of their mind though, because Goku and Ruta are focused on that, while Raditz is focused on something entirely different. And while the three share a rivalry, Raditz also has his own new rivalry. Visiting Earth more and more, he comes to see that Piccolo's actually a great rival for him, both in terms of their mentalities clashing and their power clashing. After seeing Orange Piccolo, he really liked it and decided maybe it would be best to train with Piccolo for a bit. Of course, training's going great with Goku and Ruta, but it would be nice to spread his wings a bit. He would train more with Android 18, but she doesn't really fight as much. She's still powerful, but that's not her main concern. That is also part of the reason he visits Earth again though, because he does want to see his wife. Same goes for Goku and Ruta with their respective families. They aren't on Beerus' planet the entire time. Although, whenever one of them goes to Beerus' planet, the other follows. They are really competitive and won't let the other get ahead. Now we arrive to age 780. Casa has a growth spurt. She's still inexperienced as a fighter due to being so young, but she's still pretty impressive in terms of power. I mean, she's a hybrid Saiyan after all. And more importantly, look, finally got art of her. Thankfully, even in the moments where Ruta's away on Beerus' planet, she has a perfect person to train with, Krillin. Ruta definitely has trained her a bunch. And of course she spent time with Gohan and Goten as well. But if anyone can be considered her teacher, it's definitely Krillin pulling the most weight. And he's pretty happy to see that she grew taller than him. Ruta's side is definitely showing more. Also, she finally grew a nose because she didn't have one before. Weird, but he doesn't really question it. With us being in age 780, that means the Tournament of Power is rolling around soon. Krillin's going to be the leader for the team here. Goku and Ruta think he's the best choice, and Raditz agrees too. He accepts. He'll definitely be up for the task. They already have a pretty good team to start with. Goku, Ruta, Krillin, and Raditz are on it, and Gohan and Piccolo are obviously going to join too. Raditz convinces 18 to join the team, and then Goku gets the idea to invite Android 17. They haven't seen him in a while, and it takes a bit of convincing, but they're able to get him on there too. And now they just need 2 more fighters. One of them actually inserts himself into the team. It's Yamcha. He asks to join, and he reveals that he's stayed in shape. Of course, he's not as strong as any of them. But Capsule Corp has some pretty great gyms, and he definitely has stayed in shape. He spars with Krillin, and Krillin's really glad to see how far he's grown. He's definitely a much stronger and more tactical fighter too. So he joins the team, and now they only need 1 more member, which means the 10th member is Casta. Both Krillin and Ruta think she's ready for this, and it definitely will be a great experience for her to test out her power, mainly Super Saiyan 1 and 2. The tournament begins, and right away, Krillin's doing pretty well, but then he runs into someone familiar. It's Frost, still holding a grudge from their previous fight. Krillin easily fends him off, and strangely enough, Frost then transforms, going into his second form. He still is holding back, but he thinks this will be enough for Krillin. Not even close. Krillin jumps up in the air and then sends some blasts down. Frost then takes an opportunity to strike. Krillin is much faster than Frost. Before he even makes contact, Krillin grabs onto Frost's horn and then spins himself around behind him, kicking him into the pillar in the center of the ring. Enraged, Frost then fully powers up. Not just into his final form, he shows 100%. Krillin smirks, a bit nervous but still confident. Well, if he's not holding back, no point for him to hold back either. The dots on Krillin's head glow, signifying his ultimate state, but an aura then appears around him like Kaioken. The glowing dots shift from a white color to a greenish color, and his aura becomes green as well. He disappears, and before Frost can even do anything, he just instantly appears in the stands. He got knocked out of the ring faster than he could even perceive. He looks down in the ring and sees Krillin standing there with a new power-up. Krillin's perfect ki control and stamina management allowed for Kaioken to be utilized more properly, with Krillin also constantly in his ultimate state. His body negates the painful side effects of Kaioken, and in terms of stamina, he could use this for extended periods of time. It's not perfect, but he compares it to Ruta's forms in terms of longevity and efficiency. This is mainly thanks to some guidance under Shin. He also did visit King Kai for some more guidance, and King Kai was actually the one to name it. It's basically an upgraded version of Kaioken, so King Kai thinks maybe he should call it Kaioshinken. You know, to give Shin some credit, but also give King Kai credit as well. It was originally Kaioken after all. Also referencing the Kai's awakening his potential. This is Krillin's peak. Frost then tries to launch a beam inside the ring, but instantly gets erased for that. That guy's definitely going to hold a grudge forever. The reason Krillin thinks this is because if he wins, he plans on bringing everybody else back. He's already discussed this with the rest of the team and thinks that might be the best option for a wish. Raditz 17 and 18 fight together. Raditz doesn't really know his brother-in-law too well. They don't really get along too well at first, but it's not like they're bickering either, it's just really awkward. Thankfully, 18 acts as the glue that holds them together. And as the two fight alongside each other more and more, Raditz comes to see how strong 17 truly is. It's pretty impressive. So that's the power that was going to be used to kill them, huh? Well, Raditz wasn't really the main target, this was more so for Goku and Ruta. Raditz doesn't know if he should be offended or flattered, but knowing where the three siblings stand now, it doesn't matter much to him. Krillin joins up with Ruta at some point, and they of course mostly stick together with Casta. Casta's a bit annoyed because the two are kind of hovering over her, and it's not that they don't think she could win her fights. It's just that they want to make sure she has backup if she needs it, and more importantly, they really want to see how she handles these battles. She's not really a big fan of them hovering though. But then Krillin splits off again and goes to fight with Yamcha, getting to see more of his power. He doesn't have a flashy new form or a new technique or anything, he's just much stronger overall. Pretty straightforward, but impressive enough. Piccolo's glad he gets to showcase a lot more of what he's capable of too. Gohan kinda wishes Goten was here because he knows both Goten and Casta were working on a new form, and it's kinda weird. It seems like the next step up from Super Saiyan 2, but it's not as strong as Super Saiyan 4, which is what they call Super Saiyan 3 right now. But the new form Goten and Casta discovered is actually Super Saiyan 3. It makes it a bit confusing for Gohan because they don't really have a name for that form right now, and he realizes that they might just need to rename their Super Saiyan forms. Maybe they got the numbers wrong. That long-haired form is Super Saiyan 3 if anything, and the Super Saiyan 3 that they use now, the furry one, that should probably be Super Saiyan 4 or something? Not worth focusing on right now. It's a bit confusing and distracting. Those two don't have tails, so they couldn't get Super Saiyan 4, although they do hope to get it one day. There probably is a way, but without a tail it is going to be a little bit tougher. They're going to have to be more creative. The first one to actually challenge Jiren is Ruta. Although she only beats her brothers by a split second. Raditz and Goku of course want to fight him as well. They each want to do a 1v1 though. All of them begin arguing with each other. Beerus gets annoyed because they shouldn't be fighting each other, they should be fighting other people. And they're wasting time arguing over this. Whis finds it kind of funny. They haven't really changed too much, at least in terms of their rivalry. But then Jiren has a solution. He tells them to all fight at once. Goku and Ruta think he's just joking, and Raditz just thinks he's being overconfident. But also they want to do a 1v1, they don't want to do a 3v1. Jiren assures them he's serious. So reluctantly all three of them start fighting together, cycling through their forms, and then going into Super Saiyan Blue. Again, it would be more fun for them if they were just fighting 1v1, but they do come to see that Jiren is actually pretty strong. Although he might have bitten off more than he could chew because it's three of them at once. They're all in Super Saiyan Blue. And at least while suppressed, they are actually kind of pushing him right now. But more importantly, something tells him that these three are the real deal. They've definitely been training under gods and have been doing really well at it. Because at one point, Jiren launches a powerful attack and Raditz counters with his own. Although it's no regular Ki Blast. Instead of just nullifying Jiren's Ki Blast with his own, he completely erases it. It wasn't really too easy for Raditz to do, and he comments that this is a bit shoddy right now, but he's having a lot of fun with it. And Jiren's seen this before. It's a Hakai. The other gods of destruction are pretty surprised to see it, and when Toppo hears about it too, he's intrigued. Is there another destroyer candidate in this tournament? Well, about a year ago, Raditz started going down a different path. Once he saw Ruta and Goku focusing on new things, not just Kaioken but their different trainings with Whis, Raditz got curious one day. He started studying Beerus' shenanigans more and more. And Beerus already saw this within Raditz too, so he decided to throw him a bone, wanting to teach him something new. Raditz isn't really sure if he wants to be a candidate for God of Destruction yet, but at the very least, Beerus is fine showing him some of the ropes. Plus, as the eldest brother, Raditz really wants to set a good example. He's not 100% adjusted to them, but he can use Hakais at the moment, and he hopes to get much better with these destructive techniques. To push Jiren even further, Goku even tries a Spirit Bomb at one point, and it's pretty potent especially with the people lending energy to it. This team is pretty stacked, but Jiren is able to push it back, and Goku then falls into it. Or at least he almost falls into it. At the last moment, Ruta is able to save him from falling in. That was pretty close. And surprisingly, Jiren is a bit winded. He had to put a lot of effort in deflecting that, not just because of the power of the Spirit Bomb, but the power of Goku pushing it. He still hasn't seen the full power of these three. And that's right, Goku and Ruta haven't even used Kaioken yet. Well, Goku did when he was pushing the Spirit Bomb, but that's it. And Raditz still has another form up his sleeve. Actually, all three of them do. Since Goku and Ruta had Kaioken and Raditz didn't, Raditz kept trying to work on Super Saiyan Blue and push that further. And at some point, he broke through. He found a new evolution of it. Goku and Ruta followed suit not too long after, but once more, Raditz got a head start and he's really happy about that. They were really trying to work with Blue Kaioken more, but Goku and Ruta think this might be more fitting and less strenuous in the long run. The three all showcase their full power, Super Saiyan Blue evolution, and since Jiren is finally being pushed, he decides he'll show off his full power too. They really are worthy of it, but this should be enough to defeat them. A full power battle begins. 3 Saiyans in Blue evolution versus full power Jiren. Goku has one more trick up his sleeve that he tries, and it's incredibly taxing on his body, but he really wants to try it out. Something that puts him ahead of the other two. For a split second at one point during the fight, Goku activates Kaioken on top of Blue Evolution, and even though it's for a split second, it gives him a massive boost in power. Enough to deal some serious damage to Jiren. If he could have fought like this the entire time, he would have probably won the battle single-handedly. Same for Ruta too, but she didn't even think to try and pull that off. It seemed way too risky. But she's not surprised Goku did because he's crazy enough to try that out. And it worked, landing the finishing blow on Jiren and knocking him out of the ring, but also taking Goku out of commission, rendering him unconscious. Not that it really matters though, because Universe 7 still has a bunch of fighters in the ring. Goku wakes up not too long after, finding himself in the stands, seeing that Universe 7 won. He's really pissed at himself though because he wanted to watch the rest of the tournament, but he was knocked out for some of the time. Beerus says he shouldn't fret too much about it. Jiren was the strongest opponent, and Goku was a key factor in defeating him. Although Whis is a bit surprised because he didn't think Goku was going to try and do that. He was kind of hoping that Goku and Ruta could pull off something different during this tournament, but maybe that's for another day. The MVP of the tournament is the leader of the team, Krillin. Not only is he the leader, but he actually did get a lot of eliminations. Plus, he helped his team a bunch too. He eliminated a lot of warriors, and most of them were pretty strong. So, he gets the MVP nomination, and he gets the wish, bringing back every other universe in the process. Following the tournament, there's nothing with Broly because Frieza's not around. But Moro is able to break out of prison. Looks like our protagonists are going to be running into him pretty soon. Following the tournament, Raditz stays with Beerus to train under him. Beerus was pretty impressed. Of course, he's known for a while that Raditz has been working with Hakai's. Although, he wanted Raditz to prove himself first, and that performance in the tournament, it was pretty great. It shows that he definitely has the potential for it, so Beerus wants to kind of ramp up the training. Meanwhile, Goku and Ruta are back on Earth, where they eventually meet someone new, a galactic patrolman named Maris. Normally he'd be looking for Boo here, but there is no Boo. But he decided to come here anyways because they dealt with Boo before, so there's probably strong people on this planet. Maybe someone who could help with Moro. So 3 people go along to Namek: Goku, Ruta, and Piccolo. Of course, Piccolo's pretty intrigued with this planet because this is his home. It's an interesting opportunity to be here. Piccolo came along because not only is he powerful, but he does have some access to magic. Although they're against the guy who's basically the strongest magician ever, so it probably won't be doing much. But they weren't able to get to Namek on time. Moro is already here, so they need to kind of work quick. They're able to find him. He expected the patrol, but looks like there's 2 Saiyans and a Namekian wearing different attire from the other Namekians. He must be with them. Piccolo's the first one to try and fight Moro just to see what his magic is like, and it's definitely way beyond his own capabilities. But there is an upside here. Pretty much right off the bat, he's able to see how Moro is able to steal energy. He can't do anything against it, but this at least lets them know what they're dealing with. So, Goku and Ruta jump in to help. Moro tells them it's kind of unfair, a 3v1. What? Are they scared of him? They're careful with how they fight, conserving their energy and trying not to use Ki Blast. Of course, he still can steal their energy regardless, but this at least does help them a bit, but the fight is pretty slow because they can't go all out. And to make things worse, Moro changes amidst the battle, suddenly looking much younger. Somewhere else on Namek, the Dragon Balls are gathered, and Piranga restored his power. Immediately after this, Moro absorbs the energy of Goku, Ruta, and Piccolo, with no effort at all, and then he starts doing so with the planet itself. The 3 of them then wake up on a galactic patrol ship. Maris was able to get them out of there, and they also learned that a bunch of Galactic Patrol prisoners escaped. So, things aren't looking too good right now. Moro just got a lot stronger, and now he has a lot more allies. Plus, Namek is all but destroyed. It's just a dead planet with no one on it anymore. So, that's a big issue because now, the Dragon Balls are linked to Piccolo. As far as he knows, there's no other sets of Dragon Balls besides the Super Dragon Balls, which means they have to do whatever they can to make sure Shenron doesn't disappear. As much as he hates to do it, Piccolo thinks it's best he stays out of this fight. He's going to go back to Earth, and he's also going to make sure everyone there is prepared. Goku and Ruta decide to stay with Maris. They suspect something's off about him, and they wonder if they could learn anything from him. They know about what Whis is trying to teach them. You know, the body moving on its own, and the 2 of them can instantly tell that Maris has something to do with that, or at least can point them in the right direction, even if he doesn't have exactly what Whis has. Of course, they don't know right now that that's exactly the case. He does have what Whis has. The Galactic Patrol prisoners eventually do come to Earth, and while Piccolo doesn't want to be careful, he knows he could definitely fight here, especially because it happened out of the blue, and he's really the only one fighting right now. He was able to really quickly defeat some of the prisoners that came here, but one of them got away. 7-3, an android. Weirdly enough, during the battle he grabbed Piccolo's neck, and then right after that he retreated, leaving everyone else behind. Instead of fighting further, he just left. Piccolo doesn't realize that 7-3 now has his powers, and Moro did tell him to retreat. He did good work even if he couldn't defeat Piccolo. And you know what? This is good. Moro is going to wait a bit before he goes to Earth. They could train a bit more, and then once he's there, he'll have a lot more energy to feast on. So, some time passes, and Moro eventually arrives on Earth with his crew. There's a lot of people waiting for him already. Piccolo trained up every ally he could find, and there's a lot of strong fighters here. Right now it's Piccolo, Gohan, Krillin, Yamcha, Tenshinhan, and Chaozu. Kasta and Goten are here too, not at the forefront because Piccolo isn't sure about it. It might be too dangerous for them. Piccolo really wants to fight here, but he knows this might be above his level, and to be extra safe, he knows it would be much better if he retreats. At least thanks to having Kami's powers, he could just teleport around Earth. So he's just going to rely on that, teleporting in and out of the battlefield, providing support. But if he dies, everything's done for. Not just Namek, but everything on Earth too. They won't be able to use the Dragon Balls. Goku and Ruta are actually here on time as well, mainly thanks to Ruta. It's a good thing she was there because Goku probably would have lost track of time alone. She made sure he's on schedule. And the two are worried about Kasta and Goten here, but Kasta really does want to help, and same for Goten. Krillin's not sure what to think about it either, but he knows he's probably not going to stop Kasta anyways. And Goku thinks the same for Goten. As Piccolo teleports in and out of the battlefield, he starts to fight a little bit himself, but Goku reminds him he needs to stay away. He needs to ensure the Dragon Balls are safe. He understands Piccolo wants to fight and how frustrating it is, and he gets he doesn't want to be anchored by the Dragon Balls. But Piccolo hates feeling useless here, and Goku assures him that's not the case. He's definitely going to be a big help, even if he's not directly fighting. And as much as Piccolo hates to admit it, yeah, it's best that he's not here unless he has a specific way to defeat Moro. But it does make him wonder, what have Goku and Ruta been up to, because they might have some way to defeat him. Well, Goku says they do have something, but he's not really sure how it'll work against Moro yet. There's only one way to find out. Most of the prisoners are defeated, and thanks to the group being relatively strong, everyone's still in the battle. But now the main event shows up. Moro's here, ready to face off against Goku and Ruta. Thankfully, the two work really well together. They're a great duo with perfect synergy. But more important, they have great power and skill to back up that synergy. And they show off the fruits of their training to Moro, a new power called Ultra Instinct Domin. They really wish Raditz was with them because they wanted him to train for this too, although he was focused on something completely different. They told him to be here as well, and he might be a little late. At least Ruta could get Goku here on time, but it should be fine. With this new power, they should be able to defeat Moro, especially because there's two of them. Goku and Ruta begin fighting Moro together, and even one of them alone would be able to do this. They're not even really fighting together either because, yeah, they do like to fight individually, and once they realize they're ahead of Moro by a good margin, they relax a bit. The fight isn't as tense. They are still taking it very seriously though. The issue is, Moro sees he's back into a corner. It actually ends up being a really quick battle. Not because Moro dies quickly, no. It's because he makes a distraction quickly. Moro knows when it's time to retreat, or more specifically, when it's time to use his trump card. Just like the group is keeping Piccolo safe for his abilities, Moro kept 7-3 safe for his abilities, quickly leaving the battlefield, going right for 7-3 and eating him, significantly powering up. Now he could steal other people's powers, and on top of that, he has regeneration. That's exactly why he was glad about 7-3 getting Piccolo's powers. He really did a great job doing that. Still, Goku and Ruta aren't deterred. The issue is, they're kind of running out of steam. Ultra Instinct has been working for them, but they're losing energy. Moro just got more energy, and now he could heal himself. Plus, he's way stronger. So he starts picking off the group one by one. First, going to Goku, incapacitating him by piercing a hand through his chest. Of course, with Ruta being the other strongest here, she instantly goes into attack Moro, also being angered by what she just saw. Gohan jumps in too, also fueled by rage, but growing much stronger from it. Goten tries to join, but Gohan tells him to stay back. He doesn't want him to be in danger, and this is a good call, because right after this, Moro incapacitates Ruta as well. Both her and Goku are on the ground seriously injured, and Moro goes to pick off the others one by one, not injuring them that badly, but basically knocking them all out. Thankfully, Piccolo's teleporting in and out, and he is able to avoid Moro. He's able to get all the fighters away, but he can't get to Goku and Ruta. He really doesn't want to teleport them out of there because obviously he wants to save them, but Moro's staying around them for some reason. He's trying to draw Piccolo out. Piccolo can't fall for it. He can't get close. He gets Gohan and the others out there. Thankfully, Kasta and Goten are uninjured, but as for everyone else, they've seen better days. Krillin decides to stay back though. He could still fight. But Moro sees that Piccolo sees through his plan. Well, no point keeping these two around anymore. He knows the perfect way to draw Piccolo out. He lifts up Goku. If he doesn't get his friend out of here, he will become Moro's next snack. Piccolo's watching from the lookout, and he really does want to intervene, but he can tell just by Goku's face. Goku wants him to stay back. He watches as Moro drains all of Goku's energy, killing him in the process. Next on to Ruta. She wants to fight back. She just watched Goku die after all. She saved Goku from death before, but this time she couldn't, and it looks like she's gonna die again. But someone yells out to Moro. It's Krillin. He stayed back for a reason. He knows he probably can't do much, but after seeing what happened to Goku, he's not gonna let the same happen to Ruta. Especially because she already died once, she can't die again. He activates Kaioshin Shinken, but unfortunately can't really do anything against Moro. With a single attack, he defeats Krillin, and Piccolo brings him back to the lookout. Again, keeping his distance to make sure Moro doesn't get him. But Moro chuckles. He hopes everyone's watching up there. And on the lookout, everyone sees the same exact thing happen to Ruta. Gohan regains consciousness too, and he can't feel Goku's energy anymore. Same for Ruta, and everyone else is here up on the lookout. He tells Piccolo he needs to go back down there, but Piccolo says there's no chance. Kasta and Goten feel the same too, and Piccolo has to hold them back, but he can't hold Gohan back. Gohan jumps off the lookout. If Piccolo won't teleport him down there, he'll just fly there. Piccolo follows him. He can't go. Gohan says he has to save them though, but Piccolo says there's no saving them. They're already dead. And hearing this doesn't make Gohan turn back. Instead, Piccolo just sees a huge flash of light, and Gohan disappears. He could sense something insane on the battlefield, and it feels like it might be Gohan's energy. But he was just here. Did he actually move that quickly? Piccolo goes back up to the lookout to watch, just to make sure he's not mistaken and that's actually what he's sensing. And he can see someone staring down Moro. It takes him a bit to realize who it is, but it's Gohan. And he looks completely different, like he has a new transformation. And for some reason he thinks Gohan might have this. But at the same time it makes Piccolo remember they're missing someone. Krillin tries to get back into the fight too. And he tells Piccolo he knows it's dangerous, but he's going to do anything to get down there. He doesn't want Piccolo stopping him. So Piccolo teleports Krillin in as well, getting a closer look at Gohan at the same time. And Moro was pretty amused by this. Goku and Ruta made for good snacks, and while they were busy up on the lookout, it's not like Moro hasn't been doing anything. He's been trying to get a hang of his new power. Thanks to 7-3, he copied Goku and Ruta's powers. He now has Ultra Instinct for himself. But this should be a nice test drive. If Krillin wants to join his wife in Otherworld, and Gohan wants to join Goku in Otherworld, Moro will be glad to send them there. Krillin maxes out Kaioshinken and goes to a new level, while Gohan brings out all of his rage in his new form. This isn't really ideal because Gohan is really strong here, actually stronger than Moro at the moment. But this is the one opponent that they can't just beat with raw strength. Raw strength actually works against them, and it looks like it might be a losing battle even with Gohan having the upper hand at first. But thankfully they do have one more ally on the way. Another fighter is teleported into the battlefield, and he's pretty angry right off the bat. Not just at Moro, but more so at himself. He didn't get here in time. Beerus and Whis brought him to the lookout, and then Piccolo teleported him down here. It's Raditz. He doesn't know who this bastard is, but that power he's using, it's probably that new thing Goku and Ruta unlocked, and he never got to see it for himself. Gohan looks different too, and he asks if they're really gone, and Moro confirms it. Goku and Ruta are now a part of him. Their energy was delicious, and just hearing this instantly makes Raditz power up. His big brother instincts take over. As for Goku, he knows he could be brought back, but right now Ruta can't be revived. Even if he thought of a Namek Dragon Balls, they don't have them at the moment, not like he'd know anyways. Goku's been killed, and Ruta's probably gone for good. Even if she weren't, Raditz would still be in a pretty foul mood. But this takes it to a new level. Raditz then showcases what he's been working for, his own new Ultra form. He never really had a name for it, but if those two were calling that power Ultra Instinct, he'll call this one Ultra Ego. Not only is he going to kill Moro, he's going to completely erase him. There's going to be nothing left. But you know, there is some happiness here. For one, he gets to use this at full power, the perfect target to wail on. But also, he tells Gohan he's proud of him, seeing that he's finally gone beyond that monkey form. Gohan's not entirely sure what it is either, but Raditz is sure Goku would be proud if he were here to see it, and he's going to do anything to bring him back. Same for Ruta, if that's even possible. The final fight begins. Gohan completely overwhelms Moro with his power, and Moro tries to absorb it, but it's too much to absorb at once. It has to be done in increments, or he won't be able to contain it. As for Raditz, he can't take Raditz's power. Raditz is coating himself with destructive energy. It's deadly to Moro. And there's Krillin. Even without much firepower, Kaioshinken is still really helpful for him, and he acts as a really great support. Moro is starting to get kind of concerned. There's also the fact that, while he has Ultra Instinct, it's not the complete version. It's not like he got it from Maris. So, that's at least good too. But Raditz intrigues him. He's fighting with such primal power, but for human causes. And that form of his, it's divine, but not like Ultra Instinct. Raditz may be a Saiyan, but Earth molded him into what he is. And Beerus simply helped him reinvent himself. It's a strange turn of events. He came here ready to kill his siblings, but now, he's avenging them. He wouldn't be where he is now without them. Moro, of course, sees that he's losing, so out of desperation he tries something. He tries to take all of Gohan's power at once, and he could barely contain it. So, he decides to have a new body for himself, merging with Earth. Gohan's still able to fight, but a lot of power has been taken from him. And now they have a bigger issue. If they want to kill Moro, they have to destroy Earth. Raditz doesn't think that's the case, but he's gonna need some help. He tells Piccolo to come down here. It's not like they really have any other choice, because it's either this or Earth is destroyed. Piccolo could abandon it to make sure he's safe and that the Dragon Balls are safe, but he knows Piccolo doesn't want that. Piccolo wants to help here. He's not really too sure what he could do though, but Raditz tells him Moro is like a virus for Earth, and he's just going to act as the cure. He begins to charge a powerful Hakai, and he asks Piccolo to help him direct it. He's not even sure if he can do that. But essentially what he's trying to do is use it with surgical precision. He's going to use it on Earth itself, to try and destroy Moro without destroying the actual planet. But that's incredibly risky, although they're kind of out of options anyways. He'll target Moro's soul directly. Piccolo basically acts as a guide, channeling the attack. Raditz charges it up. Meanwhile, Krillin and Gohan try to go for the gem on his head, with Kasta and Goten flying down from the lookout and joining them as well, basically distracting him as Raditz prepares. This is a huge risk, but Raditz goes for it anyways. It's a gamble, but it's their only option. He launches the Hakai. It travels through the entire Earth, and doesn't affect the actual planet itself. It takes intense focus both from him and from Piccolo, but they're able to target it to Moro, with Piccolo using his own power and magic to help redirect it, with the attack affecting Moro's soul directly, essentially ripping him out of the Earth and destroying him. The biggest issue was containing the explosion. That's the main thing Raditz was worried about. Together they're able to redirect the energy, causing the explosion to manifest as a giant beam launching out into space, leaving Earth relatively unharmed. Any damage that is there can be restored eventually with the Dragon Balls, but it was more important they keep Earth around in the first place. They did it. But what now? Piccolo restores Namek with the Dragon Balls, and he uses another wish from Shenron to revive everyone killed. This affects Goku, but not Ruta. And of course everyone else who died in Moro's conquest. Ruta's really the only one who isn't brought back immediately, but it's fine. All they need is a wish from Namek's Dragon Balls, and she's brought back. Piccolo wanted to wait until this was all over before he made any wish, and now they're finally in the clear. In retrospect, Goku kinda laughs about it. Now each sibling has died at least once. Although Ruta is winning in death count, she's at 2. Probably not the best metric to be ahead in, but with how close the siblings are in every other regard, there's going to be some weird exceptions. The 3 siblings return to Beerus' planet. There's nothing with Granola after the fact, and it's pretty much business as usual with the heaters. Without Frieza, there's nothing really to push those events in motion. Sort of like what happened with Broly. So, we just kind of have a time skip here, and eventually we get to the point when Superhero is supposed to happen. Well, sort of, there are a few changes here. So of course, Cell hasn't awakened in this scenario yet. They can't make a Cell Max if there is no Cell to work off of, because how else would they get the idea? So, something different happens. Magenta and the Red Ribbon Army find out about Jiro's research, and they're able to locate his lab, or at least what's left of it. There isn't much, but thankfully some part of it did survive. It looked like most of the lab was destroyed, but no, there's an underground bunker here. One that was hidden away pretty well, and it leads them to another project that's still in development, something that's almost complete. It's Cell. Hedo is freed from prison, and with help from him, the Red Ribbon Army starts working on Cell. So there's no Cell Max here. It's just going to be Cell. Hedo comes to see that Cell's not going to be born perfect. It looks like he has to absorb other androids, but that's an easy fix on Hedo's end. He could just make the parts himself and make it so that Cell's perfect to begin with. He's not sure why Jiro did it this way, but whatever. It's a simple fix for someone like him. Plus, he got some pretty great data too. Following the fight with Moro, Hedo was able to find one little piece of 7-3 lying around. By surveying the area where this battle took place, his drones found this thing, so they picked up and looked at what it had. And it gives Cell a lot of data, mainly on Moro and anything he saw during this fight. Jiro's drone stopped collecting data at a certain point, but they added this in too. So there's a big gap in Cell's data, but he at least has data from a recent battle against Moro. Unfortunately for him, 7-3 didn't really copy many other abilities, but Ultra Instinct Omen is on there, so that could be interesting to see. Most notably, Moro's magic, although there's not really a lot to work with, and it's going to be hard to get Cell to utilize it. But still, it is there. Hedo wants to make more of his own androids, and he was told in the first place that he could do that, but he never gets the chance to make the Gammas. He's told he has to wait until Cell is complete, which is fine for him. He likes working on Cell, and unlike Cell Max, it's not like he needs to be programmed to actually have control of himself, because Cell is actually pretty smart as is. The thing that worries Hedo is that Cell is obviously independent, and he's not going to be a good guy either. And really, there's not a lot of work for him to do in the first place. He basically just adds 7-3's data and makes Cell perfect. He doesn't have time to modify Cell's thoughts or motivations or anything. Basically, the second it looks like he's ready, Magenta unleashes him, so Cell awakens fully perfect. The first thing he does is kill Magenta, and then everyone else in the Red Ribbon Army. Well, besides Hedo. He knows Hedo was the one to make him perfect, and the one thing Hedo was able to do was program Cell to not kill him. Cell simply finds it kind of funny. He must have been scared of him, but Cell wasn't going to kill him regardless. Without him, he wouldn't be perfect. Hedo watches on in terror as Cell simply leaves. And this entertains Cell. It's exactly what he wants to see. The look of terror on people's faces. It was a good idea to keep Hedo around. So, what's Cell going to do now? His objective is to kill Goku and also pretty much anyone around him, but Cell being Cell, he's of course looking for a good fight too. His primary targets are Goku and Ruta of course, but anyone adjacent to them should be strong enough to fight too. Especially with all the powers he has, he really wants to make use of them. In terms of strength, it's not like Cell is crazy cracked here because while he has a good amount of data and he has a lot from the Moro fight, there's still a lot he's missing, and at this point in the story, that fight has long since passed. And he's not too sure what to expect because, based on the data he has, he's stronger than those people during that fight, but he doesn't know how much they've grown, or who's even here at this point. Only one way to find out. So, the first thing he does is go to a random city, and he begins terrorizing it. This will surely draw people out. And pretty much right away, 2 people come to fight against him, introducing themselves as 2 of the Great Saiyamen. The Great Saiyamen? Actually, you know what? He does have data on that. Knowing Hedo, he'd probably put that data in there because he loves superheroes. But he only knows about the original Great Saiyaman. He doesn't know about these 2. They seem newer. Also, they rushed here kind of quick and they don't have their costumes on, so he gets a good look at them. It's just Goten and Kasta. They're superheroes? Well, they should be fun to fight. And it's Ruta's daughter and Goku's son, so perfect targets for him. The 2 begin fighting Cell, having no clue what they're up against. But this fight is pretty short-lived. Cell does kind of take it easy at first just to test out his powers, and he comes to realize that these 2 aren't really worth his time. He charges a Kamehameha, ready to finish this off. And as he launches the attack, the 2 are about to counter, but someone else enters the battlefield, simply swatting away the beam. It's Gohan. Then, Cell feels a tap on his shoulder. turning around and getting punched in the face. It's Piccolo. These two of course are on Earth, and once they sensed something going on, they came here immediately, especially because Piccolo was seeing everything from the lookout and saw the city was under attack. Plus, both of them sensed Goten and Casta, alongside Cell of course. The second phase of the fight begins. Gohan and Piccolo fight against Cell, and they come to learn that he's a weird amalgamation of pretty much everybody. That's why his ki felt so strange. They could feel the ki signatures of a lot of people they know. And on top of that, he is copying a lot of their moves. But he's not really a match for them. At one point in the battle, Gohan is able to finish it, seemingly destroying all of Cell. But he does regenerate from this. It even surprises him, and he grows a lot stronger in the process. But they of course didn't realize he could just regenerate from pretty much nothing. Cell's core ended up surviving this, so that's how he was able to come back. He's surprised that Gohan ended it that quickly. He wanted to have a little more fun, especially because he didn't get to use all of his powers yet. First, he tries activating Ultra Instinct Omen, and he can't really pull it off. First of all, it's Omen, so it has its own issues to begin with. Second of all, he got this from Moro, who couldn't really pull it off too well. And on top of that, he's not really working off full data here. So he can kind of use it, but he's not really pulling off some crazy Ultra Instinct feats. But at the same time, he tries to use Moro's powers. Same for Raditz too. Raditz's powers are something 7-3 never copied, but he has enough data on it where he could try and replicate a Hakai, so he has some access to this. The toughest part is definitely Moro's magic though. Again, not something he used perfectly, but if you give this more of a test run, he'll be able to just absorb all of their power and make the fight simpler. He doesn't really want to do this, he'd rather prove his perfection by actually fighting them and not stealing their power. But hey, if it has to come to that, he doesn't really mind. He's not above stealing people's powers after all. Now the fight's getting a lot tougher, but still, they seem to overpower Cell. The issue is he is taking their power, which is kind of evening the playing field, so Gohan realized they have to go all out and just finish him off with one attack. They've dealt with this before after all, and Piccolo has an idea. The energy absorption seems bad, but Moro had his own limit. That's why he had to merge with Earth after all. So if Cell tries to absorb too much power, he will become unstable, especially because he can't use it as well as Moro does. So they should try and hit him with all they've got. Best case, they just destroy him as is. In worst case, Cell will try to absorb all that power, but he won't be able to handle all of it. So Gohan goes into Beast, with Goten and Casta using Super Saiyan 3. And together, three of them charge all the power they can, as Piccolo goes orange to hold Cell off. But he can't contend with Cell alone. Not that it matters though. The three all charge a Kamehameha, launching it together as a family. Call it a family Kamehameha, or a Saiyaman Kamehameha. They're not too sure what to call it. Cell quickly swats Piccolo away, and then tries to counter with his own blast, but it's being overpowered by theirs. So instead, he welcomes the attack. He tries to absorb all of their strength at once, and the second they see him absorbing it, they channel even more power into it. And Cell starts growing in size. His body is growing unstable, especially while trying to use Ultra Instinct at the same time, which he barely had control of in the first place. He's trying to use too much at once that he doesn't even really know that much about, and he can't stop it either. He just keeps absorbing power. And soon enough, he does hit a limit, causing him to explode. But they're not going to let him regenerate a second time. When he tries to come back, Piccolo sees his core, and he's able to snipe it out of the sky with his own beam, ensuring Cell is gone for good. And just like that, Cell is defeated. So while that's happening on Earth, where's everyone else? Goku, Ruta, and Raditz are all on Beerus' planet, and they've been training, of course, all trying to grow in their own ways. Goku and Ruta have a completed version of Ultra Instinct by now. And by this point, the three siblings are pretty much equal in power again. With Ultra Ego, Raditz of course grows during battle, but Goku and Ruta have great speed, giving them the advantage in that statistic. But there's something Raditz wants to see. He could fight his siblings, but he'd rather see them fight each other. He hasn't seen a Goku versus Ruta fight. He knows they of course had a long-standing rivalry, especially with the tournaments, so he wants to see how a battle goes between them right now, especially with the two of them being equal, and both having Ultra Instinct. And yeah, they never really thought of that. Like, they've sparred before, and of course they've trained together a bunch, but it's been a while since they had a regular 1v1 using all of their power. So, what better time to do it than now? Another Goku versus Ruta matchup begins. From what Goku remembers, Ruta's ahead by 1. So, simply by winning this battle, Goku can even the score. Ruta can't believe he's keeping track still, but honestly, she was too. And the two have their all-out Ultra Instinct battle. Of course, Beerus and Whis like watching this too, especially Whis. This is what his students are capable of. He's very proud. And Beerus is surprised that two mortals pulled off Ultra Instinct that quickly. All these other gods are millions of years old, and no one seems to have a grasp on it, but these two do. The fight ends up being really close, to the point where they're not too sure who wins. But Ruta drops out of Ultra Instinct first, pretty much by a few seconds, and then goes unconscious not too long after. Goku then loses consciousness, but he was the last one standing, so he technically was the winner. He was at least conscious long enough to celebrate that victory. It is kind of tough to win against someone with the same training, powers, and strength after all. But yeah, they loved the battle, and it looks like the score is now even between them. Now they need to test out their power against Raditz. By this point, he's decided that he will be the next god of destruction. Beerus offered it to him, and yeah, he thinks it might fit him. Goku and Ruta aren't up for it, but Beerus did want one of the three Saiyans. Plus, Raditz does have the abilities for it. Ultra Ego is a pretty huge plus. While they recover from their last battle, Raditz is going to make a brief detour. As a god of destruction candidate now, he has special privileges. He's seen so many crazy techniques recently, like Ultra Instinct, he saw Moro's magic, even the things Piccolo's capable of too. He's been trying to expand his horizons recently, and one of the things he's been doing is going to Otherworld, trying to learn different techniques there. King Kai was of course the first visit, especially with Goku and Ruta learning their own things from him. He could try and pull off a Spirit Bomb, maybe his heart is suited for it by now, and as for Kaioken, he doesn't really have much use for it at the moment. But he learned some other things in Otherworld, and out of curiosity, he decides to explore Hell at one point. He knows a lot of people that are sent here don't get to keep their bodies, but it does make him wonder what types of warriors are here, because maybe he can learn something. It's kind of weird going to Hell to train, but it's not like he's going to find a teacher here, he just wonders what things are out there for techniques. And when he's here, weirdly enough he senses a familiar power, one that he hasn't felt in a while but he immediately picks up on. There's no way it's what he thinks it is. He flies through Otherworld, and comes across someone who he hasn't seen in a long while. It's Vegeta. Raditz is really surprised. Vegeta kept his body? Maybe there was actually a chance for him to change, because usually he'd just be cleansed and reincarnated, but no. He's actually here still. Of course, Vegeta's surprised to see him here too. What, did he finally die and get sent here? Well, judging by the lack of halo on his head, it doesn't seem like it. So, how is he down here? Well, Raditz is wondering the same thing, because not everyone gets to keep their bodies. Vegeta's honestly not too sure himself, but he's grown comfortable down here, especially because he's the strongest. While being dead, he's able to train as much as he likes, so that's all he's been doing the past however many years. And naturally there's only one thing to do when seeing Raditz. He challenges him to a battle, telling Raditz he's gone way beyond Super Saiyan, and he'll be sure Raditz stays here. Instantly, Vegeta powers up, showing off a form that's pretty familiar to Raditz in fact. Super Saiyan 3. Oh yeah, his niece and nephews have that form. Vegeta thinks he's joking, but no, Raditz actually has seen this before. Actually, they ended up renaming some forms because Vegeta ended up calling this Super Saiyan 3 for simplicity, and their old Super Saiyan 3 was actually Super Saiyan 4, until they discovered the real Super Saiyan 3. This just confuses Vegeta. It's too convoluted. Anyways, thanks to Vegeta being dead, Super Saiyan 3 doesn't have the same drawbacks. Cassette and Goten know about the drawbacks because they don't have tails. So, Raditz humors him, going into Super Saiyan 3 to fight him, and Vegeta's actually pretty strong. He has spent his entire life here training after all, but is this his limit? Well yeah. It's the strongest Super Saiyan form he's thought of. And Raditz reminds him about Great Ape. He hasn't tried to do anything with that? Well, actually yes. Vegeta did try and go Golden Great Ape once, but he never went beyond that. Looks like they had a lot of the same ideas. Raditz shows off Super Saiyan 4. You can see why it would be tougher for Vegeta to get that form down here, but it's impressive he even thought that far. And Vegeta can't believe what he's seeing. To make things worse, that's not even Raditz's peak. He has forms beyond this, but he'll have to show Vegeta some other day. He just came down here for a brief detour, but it's good to know that someone he knows is down here. Vegeta finds that interesting. What, Raditz wants to see him again? Well, yeah. As the next god of destruction, he has special privileges and that's why he was down here in the first place. Next god of destruction? Like, Beerus? Yeah, Raditz has a lot to tell him about. Vegeta thinks he's joking, but maybe he's not. That doesn't really make sense to him, but sure, he'd like to hear more about it. He then laughs it off. Maybe he made the wrong choice fighting them, and Raditz had the right idea of betraying the Saiyans. He's clearly flourishing, and it's kind of impressive to Raditz. The time in Hell has made Vegeta mellow out, but his time on Earth was definitely better. To think, a fellow Saiyan is going to be taking Beerus' position. How absurd. And yeah, betraying Vegeta was a great choice. Goku and Ruta led him down a much better path in life. And he'll bring them here too to see Vegeta, because he thinks those two are probably going to surpass him again. He needs to do whatever he can to stay ahead, not just as a god of destruction, but as a big brother as well. He says farewell to Vegeta, returning back to Beerus' planet. Goku and Ruta are healed up, and they're ready for their next battle. The only issue is, they have to decide who's going to fight against Raditz first. Nothing a simple game of rock, paper, scissors can't solve. And Raditz watches as they play a couple dozen games, and they keep tying with each other. Wow, those two are really like-minded. They keep throwing the same moves. What are the odds of that? Goku then cheats by using Ultra Instinct to rock, paper, scissors, which just pisses Ruta off in the process. But it was a pretty smart idea. Getting his body to move on its own with rock, paper, scissors, Raditz finds that kind of funny. It's a good thing he ended up here with them. He only wishes he went to Earth sooner, or maybe even went along with them. But who knows how that would have gone. With that, we end off the series here. What'd you guys think about this finale and the story as a whole? Let me know your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel and shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting the scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.